Welcome back to the channel. This is Trendy Storm and you are watching first part of What If Naruto Was Trained by Jiraiya Early. If you enjoyed this video, please like, share and subscribe to this channel. Now wasting no more time, let's start the story.
Within the tower of Hokage, Sarutobi asked, Arashi, what are you doing? He still visited the office for a social call or in times of danger, despite no longer being the third Hokage. His successor was scurrying around the room in search of specific items, ignoring him. Scrolls, checked. Seals, checked. The village's Yondaime Hokage, Arashi, was so focused on his task that he failed to notice that there was another person present. Ramen, checked and double-checked. At that comment, Sarutobi laughed. He was aware of the Yondaime's fixation on it. Arashi would leave the office for Ichiraku Ramen Bar more quickly than Tsunade fleeing debt collectors whenever he heard the word ramen, or the free ramen prophecy. Sarutobi raised his voice, ahem, Arashi, in an attempt to draw his attention without surprising him. Sarutobi shook his head, saying, oh hey old man, I didn't see you there. This man was supposed to be the Hokage, but he was as sloppy as a dog looking for his bone. Arashi, I've been standing here for 10 minutes listening to your so-called checklist. Arashi was still running around the office, looking through his drawers, the bookshelf, and pretty much anything else he could remember what he was looking for. Hey, sorry old man, I was too busy thinking about important things. Sarutobi laughed once more, but he understood that this was not the appropriate circumstance to be in. For a moment, Sarutobi gazed at the youthful Hokage. When Sarutobi brought up the beast, Arashi tensed up for a second before he relaxed and his eyes gleamed with amusement. What are you going to do about Kyuubi outside your window? Sarutobi saw the sparkle in his eyes and knew instantly what it was. Sarutobi glared at Arashi, hoping that he would have grown up by the time he became Hokage. Oh no, Arashi, tell me you're not going to humiliate Kyuubi. He is supposedly the king of the Biju. I seriously don't think you have the time to mess with him while he's off destroying the village. Arashi approached the window to observe the complete devastation the beast was causing. He turned to face his predecessor and said, you have known me since I was young. I always do things with a certain flair to it. While as the Yondaime Hokage, I must do all I can to ensure the survival of this village. Sarutobi approached Arashi, who was still staring out his office window, and said, we have been fighting the Kyuubi all night and it doesn't look like it will go down anytime soon. We also have a lot of casualties on our side. He put his hand on Arashi's shoulder to demonstrate his belief in his capacity to defend the populace and said, I hope you have something else planned because we're running out of time and ideas. The time to reveal our hand is now. Well, when physical attacks don't work, there are also mental attacks. A wise person once told me, when the odds are against you, never play your trump card until the end. At the statement, Sarutobi stood grinning. It sounded so enlightening and wise. Who, he wondered, could have advised Arashi? Who was this wise person? With a smile, Arashi answered, Tsunade. Haim. At that response, Sarutobi winced. He couldn't help but wonder why Arashi would pay attention to Tsunade's advice regarding gambling. Arashi, do you know the nickname that was given to my student? Arashi said, the Slug Master, without fully understanding what Sarutobi was attempting to say. Arashi's face turned pale, but he quickly brushed the notion aside. No, she has another nickname. She's known as the legendary sucker. Sarutobi. Sensei, that doesn't matter because advice is advice, it comes from experience. So what is this trump card that you're holding in your hands, Arashi? Wondered Sarutobi. The Kyuubi appears to be impervious to jutsus and cannot be penetrated by ordinary kunais or shurikens. I'm planning on showing Kyuubi why he should fear the name of the Yondaime. If I should humiliate Kyuubi along the way, it's an added bonus. Arashi laughed. He always wanted to leave on a high note, and his plan will do just that. Sarutobi shook his head and said, Arashi, I thought your days as a prankster were over once you became Hokage. In Arashi's company, he couldn't help but relax. Even in such circumstances, Arashi has been known to keep the spirits alive. Arashi grinned and said, old man, you know what they say, once a prankster, always a prankster. Gazing out the window, Arashi observed the chaos that the Kyuubi was wreaking throughout the village. Arashi shouted out the window, Kakashi, come here, I need you to do me a favor. Then, beside Sarutobi, Kakashi emerged in a puff of smoke. Kakashi looked to his sensei for a response. Arashi. Sensei, the situation is getting out of hand. We can't hold Kyuubi back any longer. Are you almost done with your plan? He asked. They were actually marching into the Kyuubi's mouth for dinner rather than actually holding it. Then Kakashi saw that Arashi was no longer in his jovial, upbeat mood. Rather, he noticed his sensei wearing a determined expression. "Yes, Kakashi. I want you to get my son." Sarutobi questioned Arashi's motivation for wanting to see his son, assuming it was the Arashi. "No, you can't be using that jutsu, especially on your own flesh and blood." Sarutobi, "I have put a lot of thought into this decision. I cannot ask any other parent to make the same sacrifice that I am making. A child should never have to carry such a burden on his or her shoulders at a young age. That's why I can't ask any other parents to make the same sacrifice, but I know that my son will be a hero. I will always be watching over Naruto, and that's why I also want you two to watch over him for me until he's able to stand on his own feet. I want the village to see my son as a hero, not the Kyuubi." "Arashi, Sarutobi began to say, but Arashi repeated the question in a firmer voice. "Will you watch over Naruto for me?" All Sarutobi could do was nod his head. Sarutobi pondered why his former pupil was absent during a crisis and said, "Yes, I will. I'll make sure of that. What about Jiraiya?" Thinking of his sensei made Arashi smile. "I've sent a message to Jiraiya before. Who seriously does not want the chance to train the son of the legendary Yondaime?" Arashi laughed as he said, turning to face Kakashi to see how he would react. "Jiraiya's currently away from the village doing his so-called research, but he'll be back to look after my son." Not wanting his sensei to worry, Kakashi nodded his head as well. "Okay then, Kakashi, get Naruto and meet me at the battle. When I give the signal, hand me Naruto and get out as fast as you can. Is that clear?" Despite not fully comprehending the plan, Kakashi nodded his head and vanished. Arashi said goodbye after giving his friend, who resembled a father figure, one final glance. Although there were some casualties, Kyuubi was defeated today. The greatest Hokage in Konohagakure's history mocked the king of the Biju one final time before sealing it in his newborn son, Naruto, and Konoha suffered significant losses, including the destruction of buildings and the deaths of family members and friends. A few hours later, Sarutobi whispered to no one in particular, "Rest well, Arashi, I'll watch over Naruto no matter what," as he took one final look around the village before returning to active duty as Hokage. He then proceeded to walk around the village, assessing the damage. 5 years have passed since that fateful night, when the Yondaime Hokage fell and the powerful Kyuubi was sealed. Konoha rebuilt the village to its former splendor while carrying on with their daily lives. Despite the passage of 5 years, the events of that night continue to be a constant reminder. From his desk, the Sandaime Hokage couldn't help but smile. He stretched his arms and thought, today is the day. He had finally finished all the paperwork. He got up from his desk and moved slowly toward the window. For the village, the day was unique. Kyuubi was permanently sealed off on this day. Everyone was invited to the annual celebration held in the village. Almost everyone, actually. It's been 5 long years, Arashi. He sighed and looked up at the sky, saying, "I'm still doing everything I can to keep an eye on Naruto for you." His eyebrows twitched at something he saw as he turned around. A taller stack of papers than his first one was in front of him. Then Jiraiya entered the office. Sarutobi looked up from his paperwork to greet his old student. "Yo, old man." "Jiraiya, where have you been?" He held up the book and tossed it to the elderly man, saying, "Well, you know, here in their sensei, but look at what I have here for you, the latest in the Icha Icha Paradise series." Sarutobi hastily slipped the book into the drawer and uttered, "Cough, Jiraiya, this isn't the time for this." Jiraiya exclaimed, "Everyone loves it, old man, you know. Why didn't you come back sooner? Didn't you get the message?" Being aware that any response he gave would land him in hot water, Jiraiya nervously scratched the back of his head. "Yeah, I got the message. But you know, I was preoccupied with certain tasks." Sarutobi glared coldly. "Are you telling me that all you've been doing for these past 5 years is research? Did you not honor your student's dying wish?" At this moment, Sarutobi was sneering at Jiraiya. Jiraiya felt the Sandaime's murderous intent seeping out, and he was forced to retreat to the wall. In an attempt to soothe the elderly man, Jiraiya waved his hands and said, Hey, Sarutobi, sensei." Sarutobi retreated to allow Jiraiya to explain, saying, "I have a good reason for this, just let me explain. This better be good or I'll have you charged with a capital offense for peeping at the women hot springs." Jiraiya smirked as he said, "What, you can't be serious? I bet you don't have any evidence, old man." Sarutobi simply gestured toward the growing pile of papers on his desk. "That was all from your little adventure today." Jiraiya cursed his good fortune in his mind. "I really ought to think about getting some binoculars. I have been monitoring several activities and movements from this organization. They are currently seeking out the Bijus for some unknown purposes. With a sigh, Sarutobi asked, I know, I've been reading your reports, but couldn't you have come back sooner? Kakashi entered the room before Jiraiya could respond. Hokage. Sama, the villagers are after Naruto again. It looks really bad this time. Sarutobi nodded while glancing at Jiraiya. The figures in the room vanished into the darkness as they said, okay, let's move quickly. Kakashi, gather some Anbu. We might need some help. Naruto, who was 5 years old, was running wherever he could get away from here. The villagers were glaring at him with hatred wherever he went. As Naruto passed by, some even grabbed stones and hurled them at him. Naruto knew that he was afraid, more afraid than normal. Naruto thought sorrowfully, why are they hurting me again? I didn't do anything to them. Naruto was running without paying attention to his direction, and he turned at a corner and collided with something solid. Naruto, not daring to look up at the man's face, said, sorry sir, I wasn't paying attention to where I was going. Demon scum, I should. A number of Chunin interrupted the man as they emerged from the roof. Sir, did this demon attack you? The villager spat out, yes he did, in fact he assaulted me. The Chunins grinned, and Naruto winced. Well, if it isn't our lucky day. Demon scum, do you know that the punishment for attacking a Konoha citizen is punishable by death? When Naruto heard the news, his eyes grew wide. He began to flee from them as quickly as he could. Okay guys, it's time for a game of hide and seek, kunai style. A Chunin replied. After grabbing some kunais from their pouch, all of the Chunins vanished. Naruto kept running as quickly as he could, but it was insufficient. Naruto was surrounded by the Chunins once more, and they had nowhere else to go. They slashed Naruto as they brought down the kunais. Unconsciously, Naruto raised his arms to deflect the approaching weaponry, but it didn't do much. Everywhere from his arms to his legs, he was slashed. Naruto was on the ground and whimpered, why are you doing this to me? One of the Chunin spit out, this is for my brother who you murdered, you monster. As he closed his eyes and waited for the final blow, Naruto couldn't help but feel powerless. Something hard struck the hand holding the kunai as the Chunin brought it down, causing him to drop it to the ground. When the Chunins looked around to see what had happened, they noticed something that made them nervous. What? Jiraiya, a number of Anbu, and the Sandaime Hokage were standing there. Kanashibari no Jutsu, Jiraiya exclaimed. It was instantly impossible for the Chunins to move. Hokage. Sama, the demon attacked a villager, we were mere. The Chunin who was speaking was struck in the jaw by a fist, which sent him to a nearby wall. What was that again? I dare you to repeat it. Jiraiya approached the fallen Chunin and gave him a look that suggested he would have already died if the weapon had the ability to kill. Sarutobi cast a shamed glance at each of them. At the mention of Ibiki, the Chunins went pale. Get them out of my sight and give them to Ibiki Morino. He said he needed more volunteers. Hi Hokage. Same. The Anbu promptly left with the sadist's gift. Then Sarutobi approached a trembling Naruto. He knelt down to examine Naruto. It was filled with sadness and betrayal when he saw the blue eyes, instead of the joy that Sarutobi saw every day. Sarutobi was unable to suppress his animosity toward the village. A child should never go through such suffering. Sarutobi mused to himself, I'm so sorry you have to go through this, Naruto. Jiraiya saw that Naruto's wounds were already getting better. Thus, this is Kyuubi's power. Interesting, Jiraiya thought, captivated by the healing power's speed. With a sorrowful expression, Sarutobi asked, how many attempts were there, old man? Jiraiya's expression was one of obvious anger. Around 50 just this past year. I don't know how much longer I can keep the boy from harm. There were attacks from villagers to even some Anbu that ranged from mild chasings to even assassination attempts done to the boy. Then Jiraiya gazed at Naruto. He approached the boy, saying, Arashi, if only you could see how your son is being treated, but he stopped when Naruto asked, are you going to hurt me too? No, I'm not, Jiraiya replied, his voice friendly. Naruto, who was no longer shaking, answered, then why are you still here? No one has ever supported me before, and I'm not going to need them to do so now. In an attempt to reassure Naruto that everything would be fine, Sarutobi said, it's okay, Naruto. Everything will be fine. Let's see about getting you home, Naruto. Sarutobi became irate when Naruto slouched his shoulders and said, I can't go home Sarutobi. Ouija, the lady kicked me out last week. He shouted, she kicked you out? How dare she? Naruto began to leave alone, not giving a damn where he went, saying, nay, Sarutobi. Ouija, it doesn't matter anymore. I don't feel like going back to that place anyway. His clothes were covered in blood. The bright orange jumpsuit had turned redder than usual and was no longer orange. It was obvious to everyone that the stains were blood. The suit was punctured throughout, revealing skin. Old man, it's time that I fulfilled my promise to my student. You mean you're taking Naruto with you? Yeah, I have my reasons though. We both know that if he stays in this village, the council will be plotting more attempts to have this boy killed, or the villagers could really kill him this time. There is no guarantee that they won't do this again in the future. I won't sit back and let this happen. Jiraiya replied without focusing on the child. But if you take him outside the village, he'll be exposed to more danger. At least the chances of his survival is greater with me than with you. Naruto needs to learn to trust again, or he'll be nothing but an empty shell. After giving this some thought, Sarutobi remarked, I would like for him to come back so he can graduate from the academy. Arashi would have wanted it. You got yourself a deal, old man. I'll bring Naruto back to this village when he is ready for the graduation exam. Looking at the child who was slowly leaving, Jiraiya said, Oi, Gaki, come back here. I need to talk to you. Naruto paused, turned around, and gave him a wary look. The two men noticed his lack of trust and asked, Why? Naruto, what are your dreams? Curiosity prompted Naruto to ask, Nani? What are dreams? It took Sarutobi a minute to respond. Dreams are something that you always want but you can't have no matter how hard you wish, but if you work hard enough, you can achieve your dream. That is what a dream is. Then my dream is to become like Sarutobi. Ouija. I want to be the greatest Hokage of them all. That way, everyone will have to acknowledge me, replied Naruto. Jiraiya and Sarutobi couldn't contain their smiles. They thought, looks like we got ourselves another Arashi. Listen Naruto, you'll be leaving with Jiraiya for a while. It'll be a long trip. Naruto couldn't resist asking, are you trying to get rid of me too, Ouija? Never Naruto, you're a precious person to me. To me, you're not the demon that everyone thinks you are. To me, you're Naruto Uzumaki, the next future Hokage. I believe in you Naruto. Now Jiraiya here is one of my trusted friends. Behave yourself with him, okay Naruto? Naruto glanced at this Jiraiya, whom the elderly man had faith in. I know you, you're that pervert that those ladies down at the hot springs were chasing. Jiraiya said, Gaki, do you know who you're talking to? You're a pervert, Naruto yelled. Sarutobi could only shake his head in dismay as Jiraiya performed his little dance and exclaimed, I'm not just a pervert, I'm a super pervert. After giving Jiraiya another glance, Naruto remarked, he doesn't look so strong, he looks like a pervert. I am a renowned Sennin who was personally trained by the Hokage, Oi Gaki. I'll make you strong with me. Jiraiya let out a cry. How about it, Naruto? Will Jiraiya accompany you on your journey? Sarutobi inquired. Okay Ouija, I'll travel with Arrow. Sennin. He shouted, Gaki, don't call me that, it's Jiraiya. Sensei. Whatever Arrow. Sennin. When do we depart, then? As they began to walk away, Naruto turned around and yelled, Old man, when I come back, your title is as good as mine. Jiraiya muttered, we leave right now, before he began to ramble on about how children today have no respect for their elders. He gave Sarutobi one last look before nodding his head, indicating that they were leaving. As he returned to the Hokage Tower, Sarutobi reflected, what a cool kid you have there, Arashi. He'll make us all proud one day. The two have been out of the village for 3 days. Naruto complained, how much longer are we going to walk Arrow? Sennin. It feels like we walked for 10 days already. Stop whining boy, this is a good training exercise for you. All of this walking will help you tone up your muscles and build up your stamina. Training? What training? It feels like we're just aimlessly wandering around, Naruto remarked. Jiraiya was amazed at how annoying the boy was getting. He wondered if he had made a mistake by bringing the boy along. Fine Gaki, we'll set up camp here and then first thing tomorrow morning, we will commence with your training. Yada. Naruto exclaimed. He had grown weary of seeing nothing but trees while strolling around all day. Dropping his backpack, he began unpacking and preparing his camp. Gaki, go gather some firewood. I'm going to take a look around the area. I don't want some missing. Nins showing up and attacking us, Jiraiya said, scanning the area in all directions as though he was trying to recall something. Naruto questioned, Nay, Arrow. Sennin, what are missing? Nins? He was still going through the backpack and unpacking some scrolls. Be careful with my scrolls Gaki. Missing. Nins are ninjas that abandoned their village Naruto. They are considered to be dangerous and to be killed on sight, so we have to be careful. Jiraiya left Naruto to his thoughts. Where is it now? I'm having trouble finding it, but there it is. He was traveling to his destination with a lecherous smile on his face. It's time to do some research, he said, pulling out his notepad and accelerating. The slave driver's arrow. Sennin is bad. While hunting firewood, Naruto thought, I'll get him yet. Well, I wonder where he went anyhow. Naruto briefly closed his eyes. He focused on the noises surrounding him. He heard a waterfall, a peaceful breeze blowing through the area, birds flapping their wings, and leaves floating in the air. Wait for a waterfall? Naruto shook his head in shock but focused more intently. Yeah, that's water, okay. He chose to follow the sounds of splashing water in the hopes of finding Jiraiya. Naruto heard the cascading waterfall as he approached, and he was astounded to see the magnificent water cascade in such a manner. In fact, as the water fell below, a rainbow appeared. Before long, his gaze strayed from the waterfall to his pervert sensei. Oh. Ha, he was spying, and I knew it. Arrow. Sennin, damn it. Jiraiya was totally unaware of his surroundings while Naruto was working on a plan in the background. All he could think about was the lovely scene before him. As he carried on with his investigation, Jiraiya smiled and said, Oh, yes, the GX.300 telescope was definitely a wise investment. At the same time, Naruto was tying a log with some strings. As he visualized the scene in his mind, he couldn't help but smile. Naruto took a step back to admire his work and turned to see the pervert still peeking through his telescope. 2 more knots and we're done. Yeah, still giggling, Naruto was eager for this scheme to be implemented. Naruto heard Jiraiya make soft giggling noises as he crept up on him. He tied the rope loosely around Jiraiya and hoped it would work. I feel kind of bad playing this trick on a defenseless person, but the pervert deserves it, he said. He started a mental countdown and thought, well, here goes nothing. After inhaling deeply, he yelled, Oiro, Sennin, into the man's ear. Jiraiya's focus was instantly broken, and he leapt to his feet, toppling his telescope and pulling on the rope. He was now in a precarious position, sandwiched between a cliff and Naruto, who was laughing on the ground. He felt around to check if anything was missing, but when he looked up, a log struck him squarely in the chest. Jiraiya flew down the cliff into the water, and Naruto heard only a girlish scream. Later that evening, Naruto rubbed his lumpy head and grumbled, You didn't have to hit me that hard, arrow, Sennin. Jiraiya faked tears and exclaimed, Shut up Gaki, you not only ruined my research but you ruined my expensive telescope, she said. Jiraiya had a sudden thought, but he set it aside for later. Naruto grudgingly went to sleep while mumbling about child abuse, saying, Now go to sleep, we'll start training tomorrow. It was early in the morning, and the forest was silent except for the sounds of laughter and a boy's yelling screams, which could be heard if one stood motionless. Naruto complained of Baka arrow, Sennin, while he was outside his tent. Jiraiya threw a pail of cold water over Naruto's head earlier this morning, rudely waking him up. Jiraiya asked, Still laughing, still mad Gaki? Naruto exclaimed excitedly, Enough arrow, Sennin already, let's get training. Jiraiya halted his laughter and wiped away his tears. Okay, first I need to ask you a few questions. Nani? For what? Baka, so I know where to start training you. Ah, I see. Naruto nodded his head in comprehension of Jiraiya's explanation. First, what do you know about chakra? Naruto paused to reflect. Chakra is a mixture of energy within the body. I guess that a person would have to concentrate in order to draw out chakra. It's amazing that someone that age could understand the fundamentals, Jiraiya thought. Naruto, where did you learn that from? Naruto lowered his head and remarked, I heard some big kids talking about it before their parents, well you know. It's okay Naruto, you did a good job explaining chakra to me. Now for a history lesson, what happened to the Kyuubi? Jiraiya was aware that he had to comprehend and be fully informed about the Kyuubi in order to train the boy. Naruto exclaimed with excitement, the Kyuubi. Oh the fox, he was killed by the Yondaime Hokage. Jiraiya thought, I see that the third S law was still in effect, wrong Naruto. Naruto gave Jiraiya a perplexed look. Have you ever wondered about yourself Naruto? You heal a lot faster than most people. You probably have other abilities that even I'm not aware of. Naruto considered this. Yeah, I do have some special skills. My senses are a lot sharper. I guess that's how I found you by that waterfall and I think I do have a faster healing rate but what does that have to do with anything? Jiraiya's only option was to grit his teeth in frustration. What more clue does a person need to finally realize that he had a demon inside of him than the fact that he was practically telling the boy? Before continuing, he counted slowly to 10. Gaki, have you ever felt another presence inside of you? Yeah, sometimes when I get angry or feel alone. Jiraiya inhaled deeply before continuing, saying, okay, good. At least you understand some part of what I'm trying to say. He was contemplating whether to tell him or not. He was already aware that the child was struggling, but it was the worst when his entire world fell apart. Jiraiya thought, he'll just get back up again if he's like his old man. Jiraiya patted his stomach to indicate to Naruto where the fox was sealed. Naruto, the truth is, the Kyuubi wasn't killed, he was sealed inside a newborn baby. That newborn baby was you, Naruto. He is sealed right here. Naruto's gaze enlarges. He was hit hard by the news. Tears began streaming down his cheeks as he asked, you mean I'm the Kyuubi? So that's the reason why everyone hates me? Jiraiya thought, aw damn, this is why I didn't want to tell him. What should I do now? Naruto, I will say this once. You are not the Kyuubi and never will be. You are the jailer and he is your prisoner. You are the person who will take the Hokage title from the old man. Don't you forget that. As Naruto stood there, still crying, he was astounded to see that someone other than the elderly man had taken the time to recognize him. Since you know the truth, what will you do now? I want, Naruto uttered while cleansing his face of tears. A hand was raised to his ear by Jiraiya. What's that? I can't hear you. After inhaling, Naruto yelled, I'm going to be the next Hokage Eros, Sennin. Jiraiya was only able to smile. Good Gaki, now let's get started on your training. In the morning, we work on your warm-up skills before we move into taijutsu training. In the afternoon, we break into ninjutsu. We won't be staying in the same area all the time, we will always be moving. We'll be into Kikakure by the end of the week. Do you understand me? All Naruto could do was shake his head in delight. He was only listening to ninjutsu and not listening to anything Jiraiya had to say. As Jiraiya went on with his lecture, his thoughts began to stray. I'll be strong enough for everyone to recognize me. I won't have to remain defenseless and alone any longer. I promise myself that I will succeed no matter what, Naruto told himself. What are you still doing here, Gaki? I thought I told you to run around the forest 10 times. Naruto yelled, Nani? That's like going around half of Konoha 5 times, Ero, Sennin. As he began his laps around the forest, Naruto muttered something about payback, but Jiraiya simply shrugged it off. Too bad, no pain no gain, now get moving. These training sessions, or torture practices, as Naruto would refer to them, went smoothly as the days went by. The basic routine was to train until Naruto was exhausted. Naruto gradually improved his strength, speed, and endurance as the days stretched into weeks and then months. All of this was made possible by the exercises Jiraiya made him perform every day. Nor was his ninjutsu a slouch. Jiraiya taught Naruto the Kage Bushin no Jutsu technique because he initially needed too much chakra input to perform a standard Bushin. Naruto could initially only make 10 clones, but as his training progressed, he was able to produce many more. Jiraiya would toss Naruto a scroll containing the day's instructions before he left to conduct some research, so the amount of time they spent traveling between villages varied. Skip in time Iwagakure, then, Naruto thought. But it's not comparable to Sanagakure. Nay Ero. Sennin, can you believe it has been 2 years since we left? Jiraiya replied, yeah Gaki, it has been quite a long time. He reflected on Naruto's development over the previous 2 years. Attack me, I'm over here. Was written on a bright orange jumpsuit that the boy no longer wore. There was no denying the boy's maturity. He was now wearing a netted shirt over a black shirt. His right leg was now bandaged, and his pants were black. What should Jiraiya do with the boy next? Naruto, today you have the day off. Go do something kids your age would do. Have fun for once. Kids my age wouldn't be chased away from their village Ero, Sennin. Point taken Naruto, but go out and try to have some fun. Naruto stated, I'll try Ero, Sennin, but no guarantees. Since they left Konoha to travel, Naruto has been avoiding social interaction. Jiraiya was baffled by the boy's antisocial behavior toward others and his true self when he was by himself. Seeing a mask on that boy's face is a shame, Jiraiya reflected. Okay, go wander Gaki. I have to gather some information. He will only realize that not everyone is so evil in due time. Jiraiya slapped Naruto over the head and said, like hell you do Ero. Sennin. Respect Gaki respect, didn't you learn anything? With a frown, Naruto left. He went to look for a training location because he felt there was no point in wasting the day not training. Naruto saw a pleasant, isolated location far from the village where he could put it in danger while he was jumping over houses. The area was also rather pleasant. There was a sense of tranquility created by the bamboo trees that surrounded it. "All right," said Kage Bushin no Jutsu. As Naruto finished, a number of clones emerged. Naruto grinned and said, "All right, let's rumble. I want 2 of you clones to practice the techniques on this scroll." Naruto began his training session without realizing that someone was observing everything he did. The figure disappeared without a sound and then reappeared in front of Naruto's clones, giving them a quick roundhouse kick to the side that rendered them unconscious. "Well, for a kid, he's not half bad. I wonder how he does when he's ambushed." The figure rose and turned to face Naruto. Naruto was forced to retreat, asking, Well, what do we have here? A little boy playing ninja." The figure seemed to be releasing a great deal of murderous intent, and he couldn't get the image out of his head that he was going to die. The figure wore a straw hat over his head and a dark cloak that concealed his features. Naruto only answered the question, "Who are you?" Only, "Your executioner," was answered before the figure vanished from Naruto's view. Quick, Naruto pondered. He immediately raised his arm in defense when he heard a noise coming from his right. Naruto was pushed back a few yards when the blow struck his arm. Then, while hurling multiple kunais at the figure, Naruto leapt back. The enigmatic figure simply caught each of those kunais with his hand as he continued to dodge. Naruto rubbed his right arm and his eyes widened in amazement. Then he heard 2 shuriken approaching from his left. The figure appeared abruptly above him after he leapt over them. Naruto took a quick kick to the chest, which sent him back to the ground, because he was unable to counter it in time. "All right, let's stop teasing," Naruto thought. "He won't be able to see me either if I can't see him," Naruto exclaimed as he flashed through the hand seals, shouting Kirigakure no Jutsu. 5 clones appeared beside Naruto as he completed the seals for Kage Bushin as the mist started to spread everywhere. The figure observed from the tree and thought, "The child is not strong, but he compensates for it with his inventiveness." Naruto stood in the middle of the fog, surveying the area. "If he's just going to stand there all day, he won't be able to find me." The figure turned sideways, and Naruto's fist greeted it as it made contact. "Kawarmi," Naruto thought. Poof, shit. He saw him standing in the middle of the space, and he was producing heal seals, but Naruto was unable to determine what jutsu he was using. "Futon. Daitopa!" exclaimed the figure. The mist was blown away by the fierce winds that swept through the area. "Now," Naruto said in his head as the clones hurried to confront him. 2 clones charged at him from the front, but the man dodged them and chopped them in the back, causing them to vanish. 2 more clones then charged in to kick him. Hands sprang up from the floor and grabbed the man's ankles as he lifted his arms to catch their legs. The man's eyes widened and he said, "Shit." He had not anticipated this assault. Doden Shinju Zanshu no Jutsu success. Naruto grinned as he leapt to his feet. The man merely grinned before disappearing from view. "Bushin?" Naruto pondered. He gave the other clones a signal to return and form a circle. Naruto tried searching the area, thinking, "Where is he?" A voice from inside the formation said, "I'm right here." Naruto was kicked hard before he could turn around, causing a sharp pain in his back. As Naruto hit the ground, his clones vanished. As the man with the katana came closer, Naruto felt powerless and unable to move. "Damn it, I promised myself that I would not be weak and that I could not die right now." Red chakra began to seep out and engulf Naruto as he struggled to stand. As Naruto got to his feet, the bruises began to heal. The man was stunned as he stood there, thinking, "Oh crap," after noticing Naruto's chakra flare. Red slits replaced the blue sense in his eyes. The man was frozen in place as Naruto leaped out his killer intent. It was the first time in his life that he truly feared dying. One voice said, "Enough Naruto." Naruto searched the area and located the voice's origin. The growl, "Arrow. Senin," came from Naruto. In an attempt to soothe Naruto, Jiraiya appeared in front of him. "It's about time you showed up, he was going to kill me," said Naruto. "No he wasn't. This man here is called Gensai Kawakami, a ranked a class missing. Nin, specializes in taijutsu and kenjutsu." Gensai bowed to Naruto and said, "Nice to meet you, Naruto-san. I apologize for my behavior earlier but I was sent here to test you by Jiraiya Sama." Naruto calmed down a little and said, "Humph, I knew that." After giving the man a brief glance, he turned to Jiraiya. "Gaki, You did okay, but it is still not good enough. Gensai here will help train you since I'm going to be a bit busy later on. Jiraiya clarified. As he jumped around, Naruto exclaimed, Yada, a new sensei. Naruto sagged at his remark. Your skills are below average Naruto-san, if I went all out, you would have been dead before you knew it. To his chagrin, Naruto said, Come now, we have a lot to practice on. I want you to give me 20 laps around this village now. This man was twice as strong as Ero. Sennin, who was a slave driver. Naruto began to flee while complaining about his unjust teachers. Thank you for getting involved with Naruto's training, Gensai, Jiraiya said as she watched Naruto vanish into the forest. No, the pleasure's all mine. The boy has much potential. It shall be an honor to help him sharpen his skills. Jiraiya pulled out a box and called Naruto over as he was returning from his first lap. Naruto looked at him oddly and said, Here, Naruto, I got you a gift. It's not going to explode in my face, right, Ero? Sennin. No, Baka, it's an early birthday present. With excitement, Naruto inquired. Birthday present? Yes, Baka. Now open it. Jiraiya asserted that it was never too early to begin dating when Naruto tore open the box and discovered a volume set of Icha Icha Paradise 1-3. He noticed bracers in the box as he placed the books on the floor. Curious, he peered at the bracers and asked, What are these? Gensai pointed to his own bracers and retorted, These are chakra-enhanced bracers. Put them on your arms and legs and then channel some chakra into them. After following instructions, Naruto soon discovered that he could not stand properly. After a moment of swaying back and forth, he collapsed onto his hands and knees. Naruto could only look at the insane man as he said, Naruto, your weight is now about 40 pounds heavier. As you progress through your training, we'll increase those weights as I see fit. Jiraiya answered, Believe me, it will be beneficial in the long run. Naruto attempted to stand but found it challenging. Okay, now since you're getting used to the weights, continue on with your running, said Gensai. Jiraiya couldn't help but be proud of Naruto as he dashed into the forest. Are you going to train him in your style, Gensai? We'll soon see, Jiraiya. Sama, we'll soon see, after 2 months. As he struck Naruto once more, Gensai remarked, Naruto, your stance is still sloppy. Naruto was pushed back by the thrust's force. Gensai defied Naruto by refusing to back down and holding his hands out, palms up. Naruto kicked his sensei's face upward as he stood back up, but Gensai just sidestepped. After spotting a gap, Naruto twisted in midair and flipped his missed kick to deliver a direct punch to his face. With a sly smile, Gensai took hold of his wrist and flung him to the ground. You know how to fight 3 men, but I can teach you how to fight 300. In front of Gensai, Naruto stood back up and disappeared. He returned to his sensei's side and delivered a few more powerful blows to Gensai's face. Gensai used his right foot to slide his body while using his left as an anchor to lean back and avoid the blows. He used an open palm to catch Naruto's final blow, then he swung his fist in a circle, using the momentum to launch the boy into a tree. You know how to disappear, I can teach you how to be invisible. Naruto leapt into the air and attempted a pointless hurricane kick at Gensai. Gensai remained motionless, anticipating the next move. He ducked under as Naruto approached, dodging the blow. Gensai landed an uppercut with his right hand on Naruto, sending him skyward, and he rose again, avoiding Naruto's legs. Not content to stop there, Gensai leapt alongside Naruto and gave him a roundhouse kick to the face, sending him landing face first in the ground. Mind your surroundings and never show your emotions in a fight. Those are the rules that I want you to remember, Naruto. Naruto slowly stood back up, moaning in agony, Hi sensei. Naruto got up and looked at Gensai, carefully assessing the situation, saying, Come on, one more time. Grinning, he vanished. That expression on his face bothers me. His senses became extremely alert. He sensed danger everywhere, but he was unable to identify the precise spot. He saw a blur as his eyes were cautiously scanning the area, and his reflexes allowed him to barely avoid the swift blow. Gensai, now aware of the blonde, retaliated with his own blows after Naruto delivered another blow. Kick, left, right. Gensai realized the situation abruptly when he saw Naruto defending himself with some difficulty and fighting back quite fluidly. Wait, something is wrong with this picture, I'm not connecting my punches. He was too preoccupied to notice that he missed a kick that slipped through his defenses and struck his jaw, knocking him back. You let your guard down, sensei. Naruto grinned as he turned to face his sensei. Gensai laughed and said, Be prepared for the unexpected. Good Naruto, good. Do you know how you did that? Not really, I just felt comfortable with my style and it just happened. My body responded accordingly to what you threw out and well, you got a kick to the face. It felt like I was swimming with no boundaries, nothing attached to me when I was fighting. Every day, this kid surprises me more and more. Gensai stood up and brushed himself off. Naruto, what you did now was combine what I taught you over these past couple of months into your own style. Those are the final steps of becoming a great taijutsu fighter. Really? Yada. Naruto yelled challenges to everyone as he leapt around the fields. Gensai struck his pupil on the head after flinching at his behavior. Ita, Naruto whimpered. He glared at Naruto and said, Baka, I thought you matured here, and then you go and do this. Like I said before you interrupted me, you still need to sharpen your skills because you're still far from being great. Even I can still beat you if I went all out. Naruto grinned and said, then let's go on so I can get even better sensei. Or do you fear that I will beat you? The two figures vanished from view and resumed their sparring session. HRMP, arrogant Gaki, as you always say, let's rumble. He's going to be a great ninja one day, but will he be ready what the future holds? Jiraiya said, looking amused as he watched from the trees. It's that time of day again, where the ladies come out and play. Jiraiya wore a lecherous grin as he ran off to the town's hot springs. After 3 hours, just one more time, Naruto said, lying flat on his back, too exhausted to get up. The clouds look nice today, he said, looking languidly up at the sky. No, I gotta get up. Naruto, already exhausted from his spar with Gensai Sensei and those routine exercises, got up and stared at the wooden log. He was supposed to return to the village an hour ago, but he wanted to complete his own exercises. After channeling some chakra into his legs, Naruto ran up a tree and leapt off into the sky at the top. Upon assessing his current distance from the village, he calculated that he was about 15 kilometers away. As he was falling back to the ground, he made a clone that grabbed his hand and threw himself at the log. With a well-placed kick, Naruto sent the log flying and performed some hand seals, making the log burn into black ashes. After the attack, Naruto collapsed on his back, watching the ashes simply be blown away by the wind. He struggled to remain conscious, saying, crap, I think I might have overdone it, before fainting. A mysterious voice said, TCH, troublesome kid. When Naruto awoke in the early morning from a shrill scream, he drew a kunai and assumed a defensive stance. He then took another look around, assessing the situation, and asked himself, where am I? Recollections of the previous night's events after his training session came flooding back to him. Oh, that's right, I passed out. He then noticed a strong, fresh smell of blood in the air and asked, where is the smell coming from? Naruto was about to close his eyes and focus on his senses when he heard another scream from the direction to the left. He hurried off in that direction, and when he arrived, the scene before him made his eyes widen and his blood turn cold. 5 bandits surrounded a group of people, who he knew to be the mayor and his family from the nearby village where he was living, and whom he had visited multiple times and liked. Naruto's world fell apart when he saw the bloody mess in front of him. Yamato Takaru, the mayor, was dead, with multiple wounds on his body and a large gash across his chest. Shizuka Takaru, the mother and wife, was crying over her husband's death, but she was also shielding her kids from the same fate that had befallen her husband. The other bandits moved closer to her as they approached the family with swords drawn and a sly smile on their faces. The man above Shizuka raised his blade above his head and was ready to strike when Naruto stepped away from his position and reappeared in front of the bandit as he brought the blade down. The bandit's eyes widened when he saw that a young boy, who appeared to be no older than 7, had stopped his blade. Blood dripping from the wound the sword caused, Naruto gripped the blade tightly in his hand. The family opened their eyes to see a familiar face in front of them. Naruto-kun. Naruto. Nissan. Naruto smiled at them as he turned his head. He turned his head back and glared at the bandit in front of him, saying, I'll protect you, it's going to be okay now. A hero I detest hero types. He withdrew the sword, and Naruto flinched as the blade slipped from his grasp. You got guts, kid, talking to the leader like that, Naruto said icily, while the other bandits smirked and laughed. You touch them and I'll kill you, Naruto said. You messed with the wrong person, which is unfortunate for you, now kill them. Teme, growled Naruto, who was surrounded by 5 bandits brandishing their weapons. Definitely not my day, he said after carefully assessing the situation. When the bandits began to move around them, he pulled out a kunai and hoped he would have enough chakra to protect everyone. He was shocked to see how fast they were moving and realized he could no longer keep up with them individually. Damn it, they're fast. I can barely keep up with them, he said, his eyes still trying to keep up with them. Aw, screw it, Naruto said, performing some familiar hand seals and whispering Kage Bushin no Jutsu. 5 Naruto clones appeared in addition to Naruto and the family. TCH, how troublesome, a ninja. Boys, let it rain. Doden. Tsuchi Barrier no Jutsu. An earth-shaped barrier surrounded everyone around Naruto. He was glad he pulled that one off. Metal met earth. The bandits were on the ground waiting, watching the enemy. The leader grinned as the bandits descended from the sky, screaming and bringing their swords down on the people below. He gave his clones signals as they charged at the bandits, saying, well, if they won't come to me, I'll go to them, let's rumble. Ka-san, will everything be okay? The boy's eyes were worried as he gazed at his mother. We will be okay, dear, Naruto-kun is doing his best to protect us. They did just that. Yes, Naruto-kun will definitely save us, just you wait and see. His body ached as he tried to summon more chakra, thinking, shouldn't have overdone it last night. He mentally cursed himself for pushing it so far, and at most, he would say he was less than 30% recovered from the severe beating he received from Gensai. Naruto wasn't doing so well against these bandits outside the earth barrier. He had managed to knock 2 of the bandits unconscious, but at the expense of the rest of his clones. Kaden. Gokakyu. Hearing the jutsu's name, Naruto immediately leapt away, realizing that the fireball was not directed at him but rather at his previous position. The barrier, shit, he said, turning around to discover a hole in his barrier. He saw the leader and another bandit smirking at him from a distance. What are they smirking at? Wait, weren't there 3 bandits? Naruto frantically looked for the last one. These are not your average run-of-the-mill bandits. I have to take them more seriously, the leader sneered. The last bandit was holding Shin hostage with his blade on his throat when Naruto heard a scream behind him and turned around, feeling helpless. Please stop, he's only a little boy. Naruto cried out, falling on his knees as he persisted in pleading with the bandit. The hero's problem is that, incapable of performing the tasks required to complete the task, now murder him. Both Naruto and Shizuka cried out, Matt. The leader gave Naruto a fierce look and said, remember the name Shiro Shiji, as the bandit cut the boy's throat. Naruto screamed and fell to his knees as his heart stopped beating and his blood turned cold. Rewind, would you like to play ninja with me, Naruto? Nissan. Shin irritated his new older brother by following Naruto around all day. 1 week after Naruto began living in this village, Shin saw him and his sensei in his father's office one day when they requested permission to stay in the village for a short time. Ever since that day, when he witnessed Naruto training, Shin has admired his Ni-san for being a ninja. No, now go away, Naruto said dryly. Naruto was on the verge of kicking the boy when he realized that he was likely seeking attention, but Shin persisted in asking him to play ninja whenever he saw him. Will you leave me alone if we play together once? Really? Will you play with me? With eager eyes, Shin watched as Naruto walked away, saying, yeah, come on before change my mind. Shin grinned broadly before pursuing his Nissan. Final flashback, it was then that Naruto began to like the boy, realizing that he viewed Shin as a younger brother that he had never known. Rewind 3 days after they arrived in the village, Jiraiya was off gathering notes to finish his most recent book, while Naruto was off exploring the village. As he strolled past the weapon shops, he noticed Shin and 2 children who appeared to be older than him outside the store. As the boys kept making fun of him, Shin began to cry. Mommy's little boy. Loser, nerd. We don't play with wimps like you, so get out of here, loser. The boy even pushed Shin to the ground and was about to kick him, but he found him kicking air instead. He turned to face Naruto, who gave him a chilly look. Naruto. Nissan. Shin looked up at Naruto. As if to challenge the boy to respond, Naruto kept his gaze fixed on him and said, pick on Shin again and I'll make sure you won't have anything to kick with. The boy stared, crying, kicking, and screaming as Naruto threw him to the ground, and he fled right away, his friends following. After wiping away his tears with his sleeves, Shin asked, are you okay, Shin? I'm fine now, Naruto. Nissan. Naruto gave Shin a hesitant look before responding, do you want to play ninja, Shin? Shin grinned broadly and said, really, Nissan? Will you play with me? Yeah. Final flashback, that incident made Naruto see Shin as more than just a source of frustration, and as he saw Shin Takaru's lifeless body on the ground, all of these memories flooded back to him. How could you? He was only a helpless youngster. I can't control my emotions, Naruto cried, slamming his fist to the ground. Tears were streaming from his eyes. It was pretty simple. You got in my way and someone had to pay the price. Shiro chuckled. Just like the old man. They were like family to me. He was a little brother to me. Naruto began to stand up, his pupils slitted and his eyes turning red rather than crystal blue. You harmed the people that are precious to me, and for that, I'll grant you a slow death, grumbled Naruto. Shiro snorted. I like to see you do something, hero. Naruto yelled as red chakra began to flow from him, engulfing him and healing his wounds. Shiro was both amazed and terrified for his life. How is this possible? A human eye can't see chakra like this. The kid's not normal. Shiro held out his sword in a defensive stance and stared at Naruto, waiting for him to make a move and, hopefully, he would be able to survive. Naruto let out another inhuman roar and vanished. In the village, somewhere after feeling a powerful chakra spike, Jiraiya was peeking into a nearby bathhouse when he was abruptly knocked over by an unseen force and fell on his behind. Naruto. He got up and ran in Naruto's direction. Gensai was enjoying a cup of tea at a nearby tea shop when he sensed a powerful aura. Naruto? He must be in danger to release an aura this strong of a magnitude, he thought, dropping his cup and running to where the aura was. Back in the woods, Shiro was terrified. The boy's strength was incredible. Although he was unable to follow him, he was able to see the blurry pictures the boy left behind as he ran around them. Shiro motioned for his men to approach so they could form some kind of formation. He watched as his men walked back, then each one fell to the ground with their heads rolling off and blood splattering all over the place. Shiro was now extremely terrified. Moving more quickly than the human eye can follow, Naruto noticed Shiro standing there trembling and brandishing his sword as though it were a piece of meat. Teme, he'll regret crossing paths with me, Naruto said as he sped past Shiro and went in for the kill. Shiro, who was searching for the real Naruto, was shocked to see Naruto standing in front of him with his hand piercing his chest. It took a few seconds for the pain to reach his brain. Arg! Shiro cried inhumanely, feeling the unbearable pain of a hand piercing his chest. Naruto looked icily at Shiro and said, Die? I promised you a slow death, so now you will receive one. With his final breath, Shiro formed a few hand seals and grinned, saying, Not without you, demon. Bakuhatsu no Jutsu. Naruto's eyes widened as Shiro completed the final hand seal, and darkness enveloped him. Jiraiya and Gensai hurried to the scene, which was easy because Naruto was never the tactful one when it came to hiding his identity. When they arrived at the battleground, the sight of the dead bodies scattered everywhere and a few survivors left their faces white. Jiraiya was looking for Naruto when he noticed a crater a few meters from everything else. Naruto opened his eyes gradually as he came to. Arrow. Sennin. He struggled to sit up when he attempted to. Naruto placed a hand on his head and said, Easy Gaki, you're still hurt, I barely fixed you up. How long have I been out? A good 2 hours. Naruto recollected the incident. I killed Arrow. Sennin, I killed them all. The fact that they're dead is entirely my fault. With tears streaming from his eyes, Naruto slammed his fists to the ground and said, If only I were stronger, I couldn't save Shin. Jiraiya attempted to soothe the sobbing boy as Naruto buried his head in his arms and said, It's okay Naruto, it's okay. Naruto.kun was called by a female voice behind him. Naruto looked up, his eyes still watering, and saw Shizuka Takaru standing in front of him. It's okay, actually, I want to thank you for what you have done for us today, Naruto said. We would all have perished if you hadn't come to our rescue. No, I'm sorry, Shizuka-san. I couldn't save him. Naruto returned his attention to the ground, tears starting to well up in his eyes, but he looked up when he felt arms encircling him. Shush, Naruto, you can now relax. Everything is fine. You don't have to blame yourself for this, it is not your fault. Naruto felt another pair of arms around his waist and a head resting on his back as he looked into Shizuka's eyes, searching for the hatred he believed she harbored but finding nothing but love and compassion instead. Hikaru-chan. Shizuka paused to observe the scene and said, Please don't blame yourself for this Naruto.kun. She couldn't help but smile when she saw her daughter embracing Naruto, saying, Shin-kun's happiest days were with you Naruto.kun. You gave him an older brother that he always wanted. After wiping his eyes, Naruto looked at Hikaru and said, Really? She felt the sadness in his eyes and said, Hi Naruto.kun. Shin is now in a better place with Otou-san. Naruto forced a weak smile, but Jiraiya saw that his pupil was trying to hide his anguish, saying, The pain that this boy goes through is hidden being that happy, foolish mask he puts on for everyone. How much more can you go Naruto, before it cracks? Don't they look cute? Shizuka? Shizuka said, turning to face Jiraiya. Yeah, they do. I recently had a fresh idea for my book. Jiraiya pulled out his pen and notepad right away. Before glaring at Jiraiya, Shizuka clenched her fists together and said, young lovers, I can see it now. Jiraiya paled at the murderous intent being released by this female. What is up with these females and their strength? Jiraiya said, that better not be my daughter in your story, Jiraiya, Sama. Before continuing, he put his notepad away. Shizuka-san, I'm sorry for your loss. I appreciate Jiraiya, Sama, but my husband and son will always be remembered and can rest easy knowing that Hikaru and I are doing well. She grabbed him by the collar and glared into his eyes, saying, is that clear? I have a future to look forward to, and I expect Naruto-kun to become a great man and not a pervert like you, Jiraiya, Sama. Yes, Shizuka. Sama. Knowing that this was another woman to put on his list of people he would never again enrage, Jiraiya felt weak at the knees. Arrow. Sennin, am I as murderous as everyone claims? As Shizuka dropped Jiraiya on Naruto's behind, Jiraiya turned to face him. Naruto turned to see Gensai leaning on a tree. Of course not. Killers are people who kill in cold blood and have no reason to justify their actions aside from the usual, I do it because I like blood. If you weren't going to die, he was because you stood up for your loved ones in their hour of need. Gensai, who had experienced his first kill while defending his beloved people, said, when a person picks up a weapon, they signed a contract with fate knowing that one day they will have to kill and die by the weapon. Naruto, you must move on. Lamenting their passing will only keep you from doing so. The deceased will always be alive in your heart as long as you remember them. Naruto tried to stand up but fell to his knees. Thank you, Gensai. Sensei. Hikaru put her arms around Naruto's waist, providing him with the support he needed to walk. Here, Naruto-kun. Arigato, Hikaru. Chan. Hikaru was blushing and was having trouble suppressing it. Gensai, obviously eager to leave the battlefield, said, if you people here are done, I suggest we have a proper funeral for the mayor and his son. After a few days, the entire village turned out to pay their respects to the mayor and his son, and when Naruto arrived, he laid a white rose on each of their graves and said, I promise you, Yamato-san, Shin. I will watch over your family and protect them no matter what. He continued his silent vow to the fallen, and as he passed the other villagers, he could hear their whispers. Shizuka had organized a funeral service for her deceased son and husband. Is that the young person who murdered them? I heard the remaining bandits scream out demon when they saw him. I think we should be careful of him. As he kept moving away from everyone else, Naruto gazed at his feet and said, it's just like Konoha again. The following day, Naruto approached Jiraiya and seized his sensei, pulling him away from the hot springs. Arrow. Sennin, it's time to go. Naruto turned to face Gensai and said, Mad Naruto, I'm not done yet. What are you going to do now, Gensai? Sensei. Naruto pondered what his sensei would do if he remained in this village. Well, what do you think? He asked. Take over Arrow. Sennin's place as the townspeople? Gensai slapped him over the head after giving him a frustrated look. Bakagaki, he exclaimed, checking to see if anyone had heard Naruto. No, I'm going to be travel with you. There has to be someone training you. For the first time since the deaths, Naruto smiled sincere. Arigato, sensei. The three of them heard shouting coming from behind them as they began to leave the village. A voice yelled, wait, Naruto-kun. Hikaru tackled Naruto to the ground as he turned around. Naruto turned to face the girl sitting on top of him and said, OWW Hikaru. Chan. What are you doing here? Shizuka approached her daughter, who was sitting on top of Naruto, and said, me and Ka-san wanted to say goodbye before you leave. Have a safe journey, Naruto-kun. Naruto attempted to get up but discovered that Hikaru was not moving, so he picked her up bridal style. I will, Shizuka-san. Thank you for everything. As Naruto picked her up, Hikaru could feel her cheeks turning scarlet. Hikaru laughed and said, Naruto-kun, you can let me down now, before kissing him on the cheek. As he set her down, Naruto felt his own cheeks flushed from that kiss and said, thank you for being there, Naruto-kun. With his pen and notepad out, Jiraiya exclaimed, way to go, Naruto, while taking notes. Naruto gazed into Jiraiya's eyes as though he could see right into his soul and said, if what you're doing is what I think it is, you'll be in for a world of pain. Arrow. Sennin. Gensai was followed by Jiraiya's whine. How did I get myself into this situation? Even without Jiraiya clinging to his leg, Gensai thought the situation was humorous. Hikaru approached Naruto and planted a final peck on his cheek as the group said their final goodbyes. Be safe Naruto-kun and promise me that you'll stay in contact with me. I promise Hikaru. Chan. Naruto touched the spot on his cheek where Hikaru had planted a kiss. Jiraiya laughed when she heard Naruto's story of embarrassment and said, Ho ho ho, nice one Arogaki. You got some smooth moves with the ladies. Remember our deal too Jiraiya. Sama. Shizuka's remark made Jiraiya go pale. Hi Shizuka. Sama. 3 days later, and quite far from the village. Naruto looked up from his training exercises to see Gensai brandishing a wooden sword and said, Naruto, it is time to train you in the arts of Kenjutsu. What do you mean? I feel that it is time for you to learn my style of swordsmanship. It will benefit you in the long run Naruto. Hi Sensei. The student and teacher started again as they added a new training to his already full training schedule. My style is known as the Shiranui.Ryu and with your speed, you'll have no problem with it. Take hold of this bakken that you'll be using until I feel you're ready to take hold of a real sword. A year later, at an unidentified place gazing at his opponent, Gensai exclaimed, Naruto, you have to leave immediately because time is running out. Naruto begged his sensei, no sensei, let me stay and help, I know I can help you. This is not your fight. Have I taught you nothing? Live by the sword and die by the sword. That is the way of the sword. But sensei, Gensai grinned at his pupil, who had grown to be his son over the previous 12 months, and said, enough Naruto, find the man Hiko Seijiro, who hides in the water when you're ready. I always imagined what my son would be if I had one Naruto. Thank you for letting me be part of your life. Sensei, Naruto was struck in the neck and passed out. Gensai threw his sword to Jiraiya, who caught it with one hand, saying, Jiraiya, take him and leave now, this is not your fight. When he wakes up, tell him I'm sorry. Always, you can count on me. As Jiraiya turned around and waited for them to go, Gensai threatened him, saying, if he turns out to be a pervert like you, I'll come back and haunt you. What is wrong with everyone believing that I have corrupted Naruto? I believe that if the boy behaved more like me, his future would be better. Before leaving, Jiraiya picked up Naruto and the sword and said, no problem, old friend, it has been an honor. As the man who was feared as the demon, the murderer of 1,000 people, he took one final glance. After a few hours a sharp pain arose from Naruto's neck to his head as he awoke. He rubbed his neck with his hands. A voice that was familiar said, I see you awake, Naruto. Naruto didn't need to look back to recognize the voice. He's gone isn't he Ero, Senin? Jiraiya heard a trace of melancholy in his voice. Yes, but he won't be forgotten. Naruto gazed directly up at the sky and all of its darkness. I hope all is well with you, old man. Slowly, Naruto stood up and turned to face Jiraiya. The boy's eyes were empty when he asked, where are we going next, Ero, Senin? Jiraiya gave Naruto a sword and said, here Naruto. He wanted you to have this. Naruto's hands trembled as he held the sword. Gensai. Sensei, this is your final gift to me, and I will not throw it away. To ensure it remained in place and to test how well it would work if he had to draw the sword in combat, Naruto tied the sword to his back. I will make you proud of me. Naruto, it's okay to feel sad and mourn over lost ones. I'm not crying Jiraiya. Sensei, this is not the time to cry. For God's sake Naruto, you're only human, we're supposed to feel emotions, stop hiding behind that mask of yours. Jiraiya sighed and turned his attention solely to Naruto, saying, I'm sorry but I can't. Not now. Not ever. If only you could assist your son Arashi. Let's visit Umi no Kuni Ero. Senin, I want to pick up some more jutsus. Naruto, Umi no Kuni. Jiraiya placed his hand on his chin for a moment and said, walking into the land of sea does sound fun, not to mention more research material. You don't fool me for 1 second. Jiraiya approached Naruto and struck him in the head. Baka, Gensai didn't die so you can just throw your life away. I know of this Hiko Seijiro he spoke about. I will take you to Hiko when I think you're ready so stop rushing. I know Ero. Senin, I'm not trying to die here, I still have to take the title away from the old man before I do. Naruto smiled foxily at Jiraiya while holding his head down. The boy's eyes had changed, and he saw a fire burning, something he hadn't seen since they had left Konoha. Until I become Hokage, I will not die, Jiraiya grinned. Okay Gaki, we're going someplace else. Where Ero? Senin, Kaminari no Kuni. Jiraiya said, gesturing to the east while Naruto sprinted ahead. Now is the time to finish up some unfinished business before returning to the starting point. No Kuni. Somewhere close to Kaminari, as he jumped from tree to tree, the taller one asked, "Do you understand the mission?" The shorter one, seemingly jumping alongside him but more quickly, he glared at the taller one. "Do you take me for an idiot?" Jiraiya raised his arms in defense and said, "Easy Naruto, I was just making sure." Looking at Jiraiya, he cocked his head and said, "You want me to pose as your bodyguard while you're in the village for a business proposal? I'm sure I got it right the first time." Jiraiya missed the shrimp blonde of the past. He no longer saw the naive, carefree boy with whom he had begun this adventure. A figure appeared in front of him and took his place. For him, that figure represented an older boy who had grown too quickly for his own survival. He felt sorry for the boy because nobody should grow up so quickly without first savoring their youth. "To sum up the mission, we will basically do a quick in and out for my business here, be ready to leave at a moment's notice." But perhaps there was still hope for him. "Okay Arrow. Sennin. Don't stop by the hot springs then." They noticed the village entrance as they got closer to their destination. "Okay, remember to be in henge." Naruto glanced at Jiraiya in a hurry. "Wait, what? You didn't tell me about being in a henge." Jiraiya laughed a little and said, "Whoops, it must have slipped my mind." White hair began to fall out of Jiraiya's head in fragments. Before he realized what had happened, he saw Naruto smirking at him while holding his sword. In an instant, Naruto pulled out the sword, sliced off a few strands of his hair, and sheathed the blade. Quick, even I missed him pulling the blade. He saw more hair fall. "Ah, my hair." Jiraiya touched his hair with his hands in order to make sure he wasn't bald in any area. Jiraiya went pale when she said, "Sorry, my sword skills were getting rusty. I think it wants to be released more often Arrow, Sennin." Naruto had no idea what that sword could do, and he was determined not to tell him right away. The Tenro was the name of the sword that Naruto was holding. It was a unique Muramasa, not like other swords. Jiraiya was aware of the sword's backstory. It was said that the sword's exposure to so much bloodshed caused it to turn red. The sword's owner earned the moniker, the Demon, for killing 1,000 men in a single battle, more accurately, a massacre. The sword drank so much blood from the slaughter that it turned red. Had it not been for Gensai and his live demonstration, Jiraiya would have laughed at the story. Rewind. Jiraiya examined the sword with interest and asked, "So Gensai, what is so special about that sword of yours?" He had never used it during his training with Naruto, but he had witnessed the man carrying it. "This sword Jiraiya-san is a special sword. There is only a few left in this world because they are all too dangerous to remain in the hands of humans. I call this sword Tenro, and to be honest, I can't control this sword that well anymore." Jiraiya prodded the sword with his finger and then laughed again. "Can't control an inanimate object? What kind of swordsman are you then?" he asked. He kept laughing until Gensai abruptly stopped him with a small aura. Jiraiya had a doubtful expression on his face, indicating that he did not fully believe his fairy tale. "Don't mock this sword Jiraiya-san. It has a special property which is unique to itself, and once released, it will have some very devastating powers." "Less talk and more action then." Gensai gestured for Jiraiya to follow him, saying, "Follow me and all will be clear to you." Gensai led Jiraiya to a spot with a massive boulder. Jiraiya measured the boulder to be roughly 6 feet tall, 3 feet wide, and extremely thick. "Can it cut through a boulder of that size without breaking the blade?" she asked. As Gensai reached for the sword's handle, he closed his eyes and focused, saying, "Never underestimate a true swordsman. Now don't blink or you might miss it." The sword slashed the massive boulder with a lightning fast draw, and as soon as it was free, it returned to its scabbard. As the sword attempted to cut the boulder, Jiraiya hardly followed the blows, saying, "So that is the speed of the legendary Shiranui.Ryu." He approached the rock to take a look at it. When Jiraiya touched the rock, it broke into 4 pieces, and Gensai smiled slightly, saying, "It looks like you didn't even chip it. Even though I only witnessed 1 strike, there were obviously 2. He really is a master." "Now do you see Jiraiya-san? This sword will cut through anything if the wielder's will is strong and able." Trying to appear unimpressed, Jiraiya stared at the rock and muttered, "My Rasengan would have done the same thing." Jiraiya's expression was one of surprise as Gensai pulled out the sword again. "Why is it turning red? Swords shouldn't be red." The sword's color had changed from clear steel to blood red. The bloodiest battle in all of the shinobi wars was the Battle of Sekigahara. This sword has a special property. Do you recall the Battle of Sekigahara? Rumor had it that one man alone killed over 1,000 men, turning the battle into a massacre. Jiraiya saw Gensai swinging the blade around for a moment before noticing something. I remember the details, but I remember that a single man turned the tide and allowed Kusagakure no Sato to win a decisive battle. His eyes were interested in Gensai. That man was you, wasn't it? He asked. Gensai put the sword away and said, "Hi, I am the one who they call demon. The Tenro is a sword of both darkness and light. It drank the blood of those men that I killed and it turned red after the battle. Even to this day, I have yet to figure out why. The sword reacts differently based on the wielder's nature. If the wielder has a dark soul, it will bring broad destruction, whereas if it was a gentle soul, it will bring forth harmony." Jiraiya nodded his head in attempt to comprehend the details provided to him. Final flashback: Jiraiya mentally chastised himself for not telling Naruto the whole truth about the sword's history, saying, "Let's not be hasty here, Naruto. Give me a good reason why I should be in Henge Aro, Senin." Well, Naruto put the sword away and said, "It better be the right one for once." After giving it some thought, Jiraiya chose how he wanted Naruto to interpret the circumstances. "Well, you know that Konoha and the Cloud are not exactly on great terms, right?" "Yeah, so what? It has nothing to do with me. I'm not a ninja for that village," Naruto replied coldly. His voice was filled with hatred, which Jiraiya could sense. Konoha's own crime will one day be its downfall. Jiraiya's anger toward the village for what had been done to the boy was growing. "Even still, Naruto, have you seen your reflection lately?" Jiraiya exploded in rage, and Naruto gave him a small smirk. "Not really, I don't consider myself conceited like you, Aro, Senin." Jiraiya backed away, about 2 feet, as Naruto unsheathed the sword and said, "Stop insulting me, Gaki. Just take out your sword so you can tell me what you see." If Naruto went crazy, he didn't want his hair to be butchered anymore. Naruto gazed at his image for a long time. "I haven't cut my hair in a long time, so maybe it's my hair. They don't go away, so it can't be my whisker lines on each cheek." Jiraiya noticed that his apprentice was still staring at his reflection and fixed his gaze on him. Jiraiya couldn't stand this foolishness any longer, saying, "I have never met anyone that dense before. You're a splitting image of the Yondaime Gaki." Naruto was shocked beyond belief after realizing the similarities. "Me? Their prized demon, who appears to be the most powerful Hokage in history." Jiraiya, who was still 2 feet away, observed the child attempting to understand the material. "You are a miniature version of Arashi, Naruto, exactly like him. Given how much you resemble him, it's no surprise that you're his son." Naruto began to laugh and shake his head in dismay, saying, "Even though I look like a splitting image of their precious Yondaime, they still managed to screw me over." Before the boy made some snap judgments, Jiraiya attempted to reason with him, saying, No, wait, it's not like that, Naruto. The Yondaime has accomplished many great things in his lifetime, from winning the second great shinobi war for us to sealing the mighty Kyuubi. The boy didn't need it to be any more difficult than it already is." Naruto gazed at his sensei with sorrowful eyes. Feelings he had vowed never to display were beginning to surface. "So what you're saying is that because we're in enemy territory and I'm a lookalike of the Yondaime, I could raise some problems for us while we're in there?" The legendary Toad Sannin Jiraiya was left stunned. This boy was no older than 8 years old, and by normal standards, he should be familiar with math and history. However, he was aware of life's harsh realities instead. He understood what it meant to be a real ninja. If only there were a way to teach the boy how to live life to the fullest, he would not be growing up so quickly. Jiraiya emerged from his shock and grinned at the boy, saying, "Correct, Naruto, which is the reason why I wanted you to be in Henge. It would save us some trouble in the long run." "Fine." Jiraiya became frightened. It was Naruto to not insult him. "What no smart insult? What have you done with Naruto?" she asked. Before he hanged, Naruto held up a single hand seal and focused some chakra, saying, "We all have to grow up sometime, Aro, Senin." The boy with the blonde hair had been replaced by a young man who looked a lot like the Yondaime, but he had wild, untidy black hair and red eyes instead of crystal blue ones. Naruto was dressed in black pants with a weapon holster on the right side and a black t-shirt with white stripes. His sword was tied to his back rather than his side. Jiraiya gave Naruto a quick glance before approving, asking, "Will this do?" "Okay, let's go. Do not under any circumstances draw attention to yourself." Naruto complied by nodding his head. High, beyond the gate, a couple of ninjas who looked like Chunins based on their attire greeted the two outside. "Welcome to Kaminari no Kuni. Before you are allowed into the village, we need to check your group for anything suspicious or dangerous that could endanger the welfare of the village." The guards were staring suspiciously at Naruto. "Why are you looking at me for? Do I look suspicious to you? We're travelers, not your enemies." Under his cold stare, the guards flinched, wanting nothing more than to flee and never be seen again. A courageous guard raised his voice and turned to the white-haired man for assistance, saying, "It's part of the procedure, sir." Jiraiya felt sorry for them. When the blonde is angry, nobody can stop him. Jiraiya gave Naruto an expression that told him to stop worrying. After a moment of relaxation, Naruto bowed his head in apology and said, "Ma Naruto, they're just doing their job." The guards nodded in agreement and pulled out his checklist, saying, "Sorry for my behavior, sir. Please continue on with your check." Before Naruto could say anything, Jiraiya said, "Okay, what is your purpose here in Kaminari no Kuni?" Naruto stared at Jiraiya incredulously as he said, "We're here on business to talk to the owners of the hot springs about considering expansion. He will not believe us, no matter what." The taller guard gave Jiraiya a hug and said, "Really? It's about time. We need more than one of those around here." With a comforting smile and a thumbs up, Jiraiya assured him, "Don't worry, boy. You can count on me to get the job done." Incredulous, Naruto slapped his head. Are men in general perverts? The idea made him shudder. "Any weapons?" The other guard, who had not been embracing Jiraiya, regained consciousness and resumed his duties. To demonstrate, Naruto pulled out his weapons. The shorter guard carefully examined the sword before acknowledging it, saying, "Just the basic kunai and sword on my back." The man turned to Jiraiya and said, "Okay, everything looks in order and I hope it goes well with your business, sir." After pausing to look through his backpack, Jiraiya discovered an orange book. Before entering the village, he threw it to the guard, who gave him a hug. The guard's eyes widened and he immediately bowed his head in gratitude to the gods for the holy book when he heard, "New release, look for it being in the market next month." Naruto peered curiously over his shoulder and asked, "What did you give him?" He posed, drawing attention to themselves. "Icha Icha Paradise Volume 6, he exclaimed. Naruto pulled Jiraiya away to find a hotel room, saying, "Please, it's just a pervert book. Let's get going before we attract more attention. Arrow. Senin." Accommodations. Naruto smirked as he turned to face the older man and said, "Okay, we're in the village. Now remember, whatever you do, do not get caught. For me or for your peeping adventure." Naruto opened the door and began to leave, saying, Don't get smart with me, just be careful and stay in henge, alright?" Jiraiya shouted, "Hey Gaki, the henge. Remember to keep it up." Naruto simply waved his hand in response. "Kid is going to give me some gray hair soon." In a mansion, Araki. "Sama," Araki said as she glanced up from her tea to her maid. "What is it, Umi? My sources inform me that there is someone that looks like the yellow flash walking around the forest in a genjutsu. I couldn't get close enough without drawing attention to myself." Umi bowed her head and walked out of the room, saying, "Thank you, Umi. You did well today. Thus, the reports of your passing were wildly inflated. I'll get my retribution soon." Araki stood up and went to a picture. She bowed her head once more before exiting the room, saying, "I will avenge your death today, Atobi." In the woods, Naruto undid the henge and produced multiple cage bushins, saying, "I suppose I can release the henge and train some more now that I'm far enough from people. Okay guys, let's get a good workout today." "Yash!" the clones exclaimed as they rushed toward Naruto. With a sly smile, he assumed a well-known taijutsu pose. In the village, somewhere, Jiraiya looked at the older man and said, "Well, we meet again, Jiraiya-san. How long has it been? 8 years? 10? It's been 10 years, Takashi-san." Jiraiya bowed his head to greet the older man. "I take it that this isn't a social call?" With a tiny sparkle in his eyes, the older man said, "Afraid not. The longer I stay here, the sooner I'm bound to be discovered. I have come for it." He then stood up and complied with his request. In the woods, Tsuchi Batsu is Shiranui.Ryu. In order to send a wave of rocks and dirt in the direction of his clones, Naruto impaled his sword into the ground and swung it upward. As the attacks connected, they vanished. He closed his eyes and took up his sword. A kunai flew directly at Naruto, saying, "I know you're there. It is rude to spy on someone without their permission." He opened his eyes as he heard the projectile approaching. In order to knock the kunai away, he angled his sword. It multiplied into 20 as the kunai approached, and he hurriedly leapt behind a nearby rock. Cage kunai no jutsu. Naruto searched the area for the source of the kunai, but before he could find it, a figure stepped in front of him and punched him in the face, sending him through the rock and into a tree. He saw that his assailant was a woman wearing a red silk Chinese outfit and had long brunette hair pulled back in a ponytail as he slowly rose from the ground. It was a well-fitting piece that nicely covered her body while showcasing her curves. He looked at his opponent and said, "Who the hell are you, lady? Don't you know it's rude to attack a little kid? I'm surprised that you don't remember me, Yellow Flash." Before Naruto could finish, she materialized in front of him, her fist slammed into his stomach. "Yellow Flash? I think you got the wrong person, lady," she said. With one hand on his sword and the other clutching his stomach, he retreated. He continued to stare at the woman before him. She vanished out of Naruto's view, saying, "My name is Araki Tenjin. It would be best for you to remember the person that will kill you. Today, you will pay for your crimes." Before continuing, Naruto used this dangerous opportunity to take a few deep breaths of sleep. A kick just missed him as he leapt away after hearing some movement behind him. Before it vanished in smoke, he noticed a tiny smile on her face. Bushin. When he turned around, he saw her running toward him, her fist glowing white. "Oh shish. It's not my day." He raised both arms, pressed his sword to his chest, and prepared to strike. He went through another tree with the force of the punch. Naruto felt his arms burning as he stood up, and then he experienced shocks throughout his body. Ah! Naruto's body was jolting with electricity. Akira grinned at Tenrai Tekken and asked, "How did you like my electrical fist?" Naruto had a serious expression on his face as he slowly got up. "That's it, lady, it's on now," he exclaimed as he hastily removed his weights, causing a minor dent in the floor. Then he put the sword back on his back and went on. He exclaimed, "Kage Bushin no Jutsu," as he flashed through the well. Known hand seals. In addition to the original Naruto, 5 others appear. The group rushed in Araki's direction, who was standing there looking amused. "Let me teach you some manners," they said. "You think the 6 of you can take me? Your skills have greatly diminished over the years." Naruto continued to charge forward emotionlessly. Kaden. Enden Karyu. When Araki turned around, she saw a fire dragon approaching. How could a clone have slipped behind me? She prevented the attack from getting closer by extending her hand. Using only her left hand, she managed to halt the dragon's attempt to charge forward. Her ability to control his dragon and prevent it from exploding simultaneously astounded Naruto. She continued to stare at the dragon, but she could still catch a glimpse of Naruto out of the corner of her eye. "Pathetic, I thought you were stronger than this." Doryuden, Doden. Bullets of dirt flew in her direction as she turned her head. She was about to raise her right hand when she heard another cry. Sweden. Suiryuden. The fact that the clones could also create jutsus shocked her. A loud explosion erupted from the battlefield as the elemental dragons approached, indicating that they had all exploded around her. Naruto, gasping for breath, spelled the other clones. He glanced at the mess his dragons had made and said, "Nice try." Debris and dust were still in the air. A voice interrupted him as he was leaving the field. He turned around at once to see her emerge unscratched from the crater. "You don't think that was enough to get me, do you?" he asked. Naruto looked at her, noting that neither her body nor her clothing had any scratches. "What? How is that possible?" he asked. "This is my bloodline limit, Zataiteki Barrier. I am able to create a barrier around me that will grant me the absolute control of ninjutsus aimed at me while at the same time, protecting me from the effects." Naruto was speechless. To play another round with her, he raised his hands to form a well. Known seal. 3 clones show up, each facing her while clinging to their tenro. Araki's expression was bewildered. "Whenever did you get a sword? I can't imagine you with that." Naruto said. Calling him weak was one thing, but the last straw was making fun of his sensei's sword. "I want you to get this straight before I kill you. I am not the Yellow Flash, whatever that is. My name is Naruto Uzumaki and I will show you why you should fear me." Byako is Shiranui.Ryu. A mirror image was created as Naruto charged forward, swinging his sword at a low angle. Araki extended a kunai and used its tip to stop the actual sword blade. When he was unable to push forward and cut it into pieces, Naruto appeared taken aback. She dispelled the clone with a forceful kick to his stomach. Shiranui.Ryu. Mizuchi, Satsujin Ken. With the blade angled sideways, Araki discovered another clone charging in her direction. The clone was dispelled when he ran towards her and attempted to slit her, but she deflected the first blow and threw her kunai at his heart. Good try but not good enough. When she turned to face the original Naruto, she discovered that her body was not reacting to her commands. There is no jutsu success for Kanashibari. She swore at herself for being vulnerable. Naruto approached her and extended the tenro. Before vanishing into smoke, Araki smirked and said, "Now before I end your life, tell me why you're out to kill me." Naruto searched the area for her whereabouts and said, Arrogant little boy, even if you're not the Yellow Flash, you're still years too young to fight me evenly. Damn Bushin, I have no idea when she made it. Morien Raijin no Jutsu. Suddenly, there were lightning bolts all over the place, each striking the ground before joining to form a massive bolt that was directly aimed at Naruto. Naruto let out an agonized "Arg" scream. He tried to resist the electricity by gritting his teeth. You have to bear it. He was unable to endure it much longer before collapsing to his knees, exhausted and weak. Araki showed up beside him. Ironic, this was how my husband died, now you'll die the same way. I always assumed that whoever would kill me would be someone who despises me. Naruto closed his eyes, his energy depleted and unable to concentrate for very long. Within the mind. Where am I? Naruto glanced around. This couldn't be heaven, could it? He walked around the dark area, which was covered in water, and said, I must be dead. He felt as though he was in a maze with so many different routes to choose from. Unconsciously, he moved about as if he knew exactly where he was meant to go. He turned left and found himself in a large space with a massive cage in front of him. The voice was deep and enigmatic, asking, Are you not afraid of death, boy? Before responding, Naruto stared at the large red eyes before him. He gazed deeper into the cage and said, Death has been a faithful companion of mine. I have no reason to fear it. He could see what appeared to be a large, crimson beast. Naruto shook his head and asked, Boy, do you know who I am? Come closer and see. As Naruto got closer to the cage, enormous claws emerged and were aimed directly at him. The claws failed to penetrate his skull, and he stood there. Unfazed by the beast's behavior, Naruto stood there. Naruto merely nodded in agreement, saying, So you were telling the truth, boy. I am the great Kyuubi no Yoki. So you're the demon I have in me. I'm sorry it had to end this way. It doesn't have to be, boy. Naruto gave him a perplexed look. All you have to do is ask for my help. I like you, boy. Ask and you shall receive. Naruto gave a headshake. I lost control last time when you lent me help. Naruto appeared even more perplexed as he said, No, you took it from me that time, boy. There is a reason why you lost control. You never met with me before. Taking chakra from a demon before there is an agreement between vessel and demon will always result in something negative. Naruto had a curious expression on his face. It displayed a mix of shock and curiosity. Don't mistake me for a saint, boy. If I had the chance, I will kill you, but lucky for you, these bars prevent me from doing so. Naruto looked directly into the fox's eyes and said, Then do it. A lot of people wants to see me dead anyway. One more will make no difference. I like you, boy. I will lend you my chakra as part of our now standing agreement. Train yourself so you won't be a weak vessel and I'll supply you with chakra. How does that sound? After smirking at the fox, Naruto acknowledged the verbal agreement, saying, Weak vessel? Go to hell, fox. I'll prove you wrong. Just keep watching. Haha, pitiful human. You're interesting vessel. Now get out and prove your worth. I will be watching you, boy. Outside again, Naruto's hand caught the kunai before it could reach Araki's head just as he was about to bring it down. Araki struggled mightily to push it down, but she was unable to even move it in opposition to the boy. What the hell, you lost your will to live just a second ago. Naruto's blue eyes turned red as he looked up. Don't look down on me. Naruto exuded red chakra, which made Araki drop the kunai and leap away from him. This chakra isn't normal. How is it possible for a boy of his age to possess such an odd chakra? Araki looked at the boy, trying to figure out what was going on, and said, You're not the Yellow Flash, he wouldn't have this chakra in him. When Naruto turned around, the red chakra around him took the shape of a fox, and his bruises were already starting to heal. In an instant, he was out of her line of sight and punched her hard in the stomach. After coughing up blood from the impact, Araki was about to leap back, but she was stopped in her tracks when a hand grabbed her wrist. My name is Naruto Uzumaki. I am your executioner. Naruto kicked her chin after releasing her wrist and striking her stomach again, sending her flying into the air as he rolled over and pulled out his sword. Naruto was prepared to use one of his favorite moves with his sword as Araki was falling back to the ground. From the corner of her eye, Araki observed Naruto and the stance he adopted. This child is perfectly normal. Who exactly is he? Naruto charged at her as she was tumbling back to the ground. Shiranui.Ryu. Suzaku. Satsujin Ken. A picture of a phoenix with its claws approaching her caught Araki's attention. She felt the majority of her energy leaving her body as she closed her eyes and got cuts all over. As she struggled to stay conscious, she hardly heard Naruto whisper, Can you feel the immortality of the phoenix? Before she joined her loved ones, she was relishing the final quiet moments. She is aware that she has made mistakes in her life, and she would try her hardest to make amends if given another chance. Naruto heard some movement as he readied himself for the last blow. He heard chakra spinning like a crazy windstorm as someone approached the area quickly. To get a clear view of the surroundings, he squinted his eyes for a while. Rasengan. Naruto recoiled in shock. A large crater was left on the floor by the attack. Holding onto his sword as the smoke cleared, he waited for an attack, but when none materialized, he cautiously made his way to the crater. Beside Araki, he noticed a familiar face. Jiraiya asked, "What are you doing here?" as she looked up to see Naruto surrounded by a dim red glow. He knew the answer, but he wanted to be certain. "You were going to kill her in cold blood, weren't you?" "Yes," Naruto said, his expression emotionless, assassin-like. "I can't let you kill her." With his sword resting on his shoulder, Naruto approached Jiraiya and the battered Araki, saying, "What makes you so sure that you can stop me? She started this fight with the intention of killing me. It should only be fair that she dies when she failed to achieve her objective." When Naruto heard that, he became interested. "I'll teach you a rank jutsu if you spare her." Jiraiya maintained his composure while saying, "Bargaining for her life now? Very unlike you, Ero. Sennin." He scowled at Jiraiya, recalling the instances in which he had twisted his words, and said, "Whatever, just don't go back on your word." Naruto paused to consider this question before saying, "I swear on my books, Naruto." I suppose he's telling the truth. He nodded his head in agreement to the terms, saying, he really loves those books. Jiraiya smiled slightly and asked, "What is so important that you won't let me kill her? She's going to be your teacher, Naruto." "What?" There was a roaring scream all around. "Are my ears bleeding, Gaki?" Jiraiya asked, his hands covering his ears. The two fell silent. Jiraiya noticed Naruto's vacant expression. A thought sprang to him. To make sure Naruto was out of it, he waved his hand in front of him. He whispered something into his student's ear after noticing that he wasn't home. "Isn't that Hikaru over there in a stunning swimsuit?" Where? Naruto frantically searched for her. Jiraiya clutched his stomach in agony from laughing too much. "Aren't you the Ero? Gaki now, boy. You went from nobody home to someone who wanted some good company in a split second." When he saw more hair falling down, he suddenly stopped laughing. "My precious hair." Naruto was putting the tenro away when he looked up. "Ero. Gaki, why did you do that for?" Naruto's blush revealed his vile thoughts about Hikaru, and he was unable to conceal them. Nothing. Shouldn't we move her back home?" Before making a decision, Jiraiya scratched his head. "I guess so." At the mansion, 3 hours later, the sounds of incessant arguments woke Araki. "No, I refuse. Gaki, come on, it'll be good for you." "No." The first voice was unfamiliar to Araki, but she recognized the second one. "Please quiet down, you will wake the mistress." A voice on the other end said, "It's okay, Umi." Araki emerged as the door opened. She glanced at her surprise guests before approaching them. She sat down at the table where her guests were seated at the moment. Before leaving the room, Umi gave her a cup of tea and said, "Here you go, mistress." She glanced at Naruto and said, "I suppose I was defeated. You look kind of weak to be the yellow flash." He gave her one of his famously icy glares and said, "I have a name, you know. It's Naruto Uzumaki, and this weakling kid wiped the floor with you, and I won't hesitate for a second to kill you if you don't show me some respect." His firm tone sent shivers down Araki's spine. She had no doubt that he could and would kill her. Human blood has already stained the hands of such a young child. Jiraiya received a look from Naruto that said, "I don't give a shit. Ahem, Naruto, watch your tone." Jiraiya let out a sigh. "Araki, it has been a while." Araki turned to face the well-known voice. The woman bowed her head respectfully and said, "Jiraiya-san. It has truly been a long time." He gave her a serious look after scratching the back of his head and saying, "Haha, no need to be so formal. How does it feel to finally let go?" This question took Araki by surprise. She got to her feet and turned to face a photograph, tears welling up in her eyes. Araki closed her eyes for a while, feeling the anguish of her suffering finally letting go. "It feels like a burden has been lifted off my shoulders, but yet I feel like I have accomplished nothing." She opened her eyes and turned to face Naruto, who was meditating while seated in a corner. "So who's the Yondaime look-alike?" Jiraiya gestured to Naruto and asked, "Him?" Before understanding what Jiraiya was referring to, Araki arched an eyebrow and said, "That's Naruto Uzumaki, he's him." When she realized what the news was, she burst out laughing. "Haha, no wonder he beat me. You're just weak." Naruto's voice raised. Jiraiya and Araki turned to find Naruto listening to their conversation while still meditating. Can we leave now? I think our business here is done. Turning to Araki, Jiraiya said, not yet. Give me a moment. Araki sat back down and considered what he could ask for in return. The reason why I'm here today is to ask you for a favor. I will train the boy for you. You knew about it, didn't you? I may not have liked what Arashi did, but we were friends. I will honor this last request on his behalf. Jiraiya's head bowed. Thank you, Araki. Jiraiya stood up and moved to the door. Naruto rose from his position and began to pursue him. No, Naruto, you're staying here. Why? In case you didn't notice, she tried to kill me. Jiraiya's tone made Naruto relax a little. Everyone has a reason for their actions, Naruto. She won't do it again. I promise. Fine. How long am I going to be staying here? Jiraiya took a scroll out of his pouch and gave it to Naruto, saying, I promised you that you would have enough time to learn from her and this jutsu. The scroll had the name, Rasengan, on it. With a little giggle, Araki said, thanks Ero, Sennin. Bakagaki, I told you not to call me that in public. You could have called me Jiraiya. Sensei, the Gamma. Sanin, the legendary Romeo, anything would have been better than that. Ero. Sennin is good enough for you. Was a scene that made Araki laugh uncontrollably. A few years ago, when she was younger, she saw a similar scene and thought it was very familiar. As he watched his sensei vanish, Naruto nodded and said, well, I'm going, Naruto. Try not to kill her and keep an open mind. Naruto was outside taking in the scenery when Araki approached him. I know you don't trust me and I know it will take some time, but why don't we start off as friends? Naruto gave Araki a look. Her face was full of sincerity. She had changed out of her Chinese attire. She was dressed elegantly in a blue kimono embroidered with pink cherry blossoms. She wore her hair in a bun, secured with an elegant pin. If Naruto hadn't seen her attempting to murder him, he could have sworn she was a princess. Naruto kept his gaze on the sunset and said, hi, we'll give this a try. Araki extended her hand, indicating her willingness to take the initial step toward a fresh start. My name is Araki Tenjin, the leader of the Denku clan. We specialize in raiden and stealth techniques. Glad to meet you. Naruto smiled at her before responding. Araki found his introduction to be fairly familiar. My name is Naruto Uzumaki, the next Hokage. She shook his hand elegantly and they continued to gaze at the sunset, enjoying the quiet but also feeling at ease with one another. His introduction was almost exactly like yours, Arashi. In other places, Jiraiya left the village with the thought, Naruto, this will be a good experience for you, in terms of learning and socializing. As he left town, he noticed a hot spring and exclaimed, ho ho, what's this? Research, instead. After 3 years, home at last, came a raised voice in the Konoha forest. All the older man could do was smile. For a boy who hasn't been home for 6 years, this was to be expected. Naruto surveyed the area slowly and said, Ne Ero. Sensei, I hope they change. He had no desire to return to a place where he was despised. His time with Araki Ne-chan was enjoyable. He had a real family, at least there. Jiraiya detested himself for taking Naruto back to the village, but it was essential to keep his word to the elderly man. Don't worry, Naruto, I'm sure they change. We have to enter the village before we make any decisions. As they got closer to the door, Jiraiya turned to check on Naruto's condition. It's difficult to overcome fear without physically doing so. Naruto, at least you're starting down the path to becoming a real man. He grinned at Naruto's evolution over time, from the young teen in front of him to the boy in the bright orange jumpsuit. Over the years, Naruto has undergone significant change. Because he was always working out, he was about 5'1" and had toned muscles all over his body. He still has wild, untamed blonde hair. His birthmarks remained visible, and his baby fat had disappeared, giving Naruto a rugged appearance. The Denku clan emblem was now displayed on the back of his light blue shirt. His left leg was still bandaged, and he was still wearing black pants. On his right side was his weapon holster. 2 new chunins were posted at the gate, asking, Stop, who goes there? Do you not recognize the great toad Sanin Jiraiya, Sama? Jiraiya introduced himself with a little dance. After his demonstration, the chunins recognized him right away. Our apologies, Jiraiya, Sama. The other chunins who was traveling with Jiraiya caught their attention. His cheeks have whisker marks, and he has a familiar appearance. It's the demon. The 2 chunins came to the same conclusion. When Jiraiya appeared in front of them, they leapt back and were ready to grab their weapons. The chunin on the right cautiously steps forward and asks, What do you think you're doing? We're going to kill the demon and stop him from entering the village. Demon? Where? Naruto asked, looking around foolishly and acting as though he had no idea what they were discussing. As the guards hurried forward, Naruto disappeared, causing them to stick their kunais into nothing but air. Don't play around with us, demon. Their eyes darted about, trying to find out where the demon might have gone. With his arms wrapped around the chunins and a kunai at each of their throats, Naruto said, I kill trash like you for a living. Their shock prevented them from moving. The chunins turned to Jiraiya and begged him to save them from the demon, saying, Jiraiya, Sama, help us please. Jiraiya approached the guards with a sly smile. As Jiraiya approached the guards, Naruto sensed their slight relaxation. Hey, you'll be dead before he gets here. You'll be dead soon, demon. Jiraiya pulled his fist back, expecting to save them, but instead his fist greeted them, and the guards grinned. The guard station was shattered into pieces as the guards crashed into it. Naruto gazed at the guards who had fallen. Guess they still resent me, Ero. Sensei, it was a mistake coming back here. As he and Jiraiya made their way to the Hokage Tower, Naruto nodded his head and said, Naruto, forget them, we have to see the old man. A shadowy figure watched the scene with the foolish guards play out, saying, so he is finally back home. At last, things can return to normal. The figure vanished into the wind, leaving behind nothing but leaves for the wind to carry away. Returning to the village, he could have continued, but Jiraiya was too busy staring at the women as they walked past him to do so. Ah, it feels great to be back in the village. The beautiful girls, the great hot springs, the amazing sights, they graciously waved back the big, winning smile he gave them. With a little too much volume, Naruto pointed out, you say that for every village arrow, Sennin. The damage had already been done when Jiraiya swiftly turned to glare at Naruto. Whispering among themselves, people began to eye Jiraiya warily. He slapped Naruto across the head and said, damn it, Naruto, look at what you did. Why don't you call me Jiraiya? Sensei or something, anything else besides that name. As they made their way to the Hokage Tower, he noticed that Naruto had his head lowered, staring at the ground. You're lucky that's the only thing they're saying about you. Then he heard the murmurs Naruto was talking about. The demon? I thought he's dead? Be careful, the demon's back? Don't look at him, honey, he'll rip your soul out and eat it. The villagers were forced to look away and move on when Jiraiya glared at them. Naruto peered up slowly and grinned, saying, Naruto, they can't see beyond the usual box. They don't know the real you. Jiraiya saw the fake smile and said, it's okay, Ero. Sennin, I don't mind. The boy had already replaced his mask. Don't fool me, Naruto. That mask may conceal your actual self, but it will soon come off, and everyone will realize that rejecting you was a mistake. Tower of Hokage Sarutobi looked up from his pile of papers and said, Hokage. Sama, there are two people here to see you. He mockingly questioned his secretary, to see these people or to conquer this unconquerable pile of paperwork. What do you suggest? He didn't have a good day. He was suffering from a headache from his work assembling the academy's genin teams. The 14 pupils were divided equally among 5 teams. The skills and abilities of each team had to be balanced. They might be killed in a mission if he made a mistake. Sarutobi thought of a few short scenarios and concluded that it would be easier to meet the guests. I am getting too old for this. Sarutobi waved his hand to indicate that he was doing so. Send them in, please. Right away, Hokage. Sama. His 2 guests waltzed in as soon as his secretary left. Sarutobi exclaimed, hey old man, when he saw his visitors. 2 people he hadn't seen in 6 years were standing in front of him. Naruto, my god, look at you. You grown so much, Naruto exclaimed in surprise as Sarutobi approached and gave him a hug. After releasing Naruto, he gave him a thorough examination and said, it is good to have you back, Naruto. Sarutobi grinned at Naruto and gave him a pat on the head, saying, you have developed into what I hoped you would be. A strong young man. You're unusually quiet today, Naruto. Don't you have anything to say? Sarutobi looked over and saw Jiraiya leaning over the wall, saying, no, but I have something to say. Yeah, I'm still alive, old man. After glancing at Jiraiya, Sarutobi burst out laughing. It's good to see you too, Jiraiya. Jiraiya's serious expression indicated that his news was intended solely for their ears. TCH, old man. After searching his drawers for a pair of keys, Sarutobi threw them to Naruto, who caught them, saying, oh Naruto, why don't you go down to the village and look at your new apartment? As he walked out of the room, Naruto grinned broadly and said, right Sarutobi, Ouija thanks. As he watched Naruto dash from the tower, Sarutobi was grinning. He turned to face Jiraiya and asked, "So how is he, Jiraiya?" Jiraiya approached a chair and took a seat. "Would you want the whole truth or the nice and short version?" "The whole truth." Sarutobi needed to know the boy's level of development. He wasn't attracted to Naruto because he was a Jinchuriki. Greatness was brought about by his will, the will of fire that resides within him. Well, to be direct, I would rank Naruto as above Chunin, lower Junin. The reason is because he lacks experience, which he will make up as he goes on. He has more potential than the fourth himself. Jiraiya paused for a moment before continuing. I would say his swordsmanship is great, his taijutsu is high Junin. Ninjutsu is high Junin as well, but his genjutsu is only average because he didn't bother to concentrate on it. Sarutobi was taken aback by this. He was aware of Naruto's unrealized potential, but it was astounding to watch him reach it so quickly. I see, now the problem is putting Naruto in a team that will put his abilities to good use. Apart from the letters he exchanged with his sensei, Jiraiya was unaware of the village's current situation. Sarutobi grabbed a list from his desk and gave it to Jiraiya, asking, "What prospects do we have this year?" The Uchiha brat looks like he's going to be the rookie of the year. We also have a Hyuga and an Aburame. It looks promising this year. Yes, we do, but putting them into teams is no easy matter. Sarutobi closely examined Jiraiya in an attempt to comprehend his logic. Put Naruto with the Uchiha. It'll give Naruto some common grounds and maybe he can teach the Uchiha a thing or two. Are you sure about this, Jiraiya? Jiraiya gave a head nod. I do not doubt Naruto's abilities for a second. He has learned a lot throughout his travels with me. I saw a strange symbol on his back as he left the room. What was that symbol, Jiraiya? Jiraiya smiled at his sensei. Sarutobi opened his mouth in shock and said, "That's the symbol for the Denku clan." If Naruto's skills were unexpected, this was startling. Around the world, the Denku clan was well known. He no longer has any doubts about Naruto's abilities after learning the news. Okay, Jiraiya, I'm putting him on the team with the Uchiha. You won't regret it, old man. Within the village. Even though Naruto was relieved to be back in the village at last, he could still feel the glares coming from behind him. He bowed his head a little and accelerated his pace. The demon's back in town. I thought he died. Is he trying to mock us? Naruto looked up, his face expressionless. Then, with nothing left behind, he disappeared into the wind. This surprised one spectator in particular. It appeared that he could perform Shunshin and he left no chakra trail. Impressive. Tower of Hokage Sarutobi put down his pen and stood up, stretching. It's finally done now. After approaching the door, Jiraiya said, "Great old man, I now leave Naruto under your care and take my time now to do my research." This was before the Sandaime could give him some absurd order, like forcing him to remain in the village. As they continued their separate ways, both of these men thought, "Naruto, don't let us down." The apartment of Naruto, it's quite a distance from the town, damn it. Naruto had to run more than a mile to reach his apartment, so he shouldn't have had high expectations. Be grateful that there are people that still accept you for who you were, brat. Yes, I am aware of that, but I can't help but believe that they are only acting in this way out of necessity rather than choice. Brat, did anyone tell you that you think too much? Stop talking, fox. Naruto surveyed his new apartment, which included a living room, kitchen, bathroom, and one bedroom. This apartment is basic. Inside Naruto's head, the fox chuckled, for a simple brat. As he heard Kyuubi roar in his cage, Naruto laughed and said, "Shut it, fox. At least I have something more than that stupid cage." Before a knock, Naruto heard some soft footsteps outside his door. Who would be searching for him, he wondered. Naruto opened the door to find an Anbu standing outside. Naruto gave the Anbu a quick look. "Can I help you?" The Anbu gave him a quick glance before responding. As soon as the message was delivered, the Anbu vanished into a cloud of smoke. The Hokage requests your presence immediately. He didn't want to remain any longer than was absolutely necessary. When Naruto noticed the Anbu leaving footprints on the rooftops, he grinned. I guess it's time to see the Hokage. Tower of Hokage. Naruto stormed through the doors and asked, "What did you need me for, old man?" Sarutobi noticed the blonde when he looked up from his paperwork. "Ah, Naruto, how was your apartment?" After grinning, Naruto sat down in front of the Hokage and said, "It was great, thanks, old man. I want to discuss with you today about enrolling into the academy." Surprised, Naruto leapt to his feet. He said icily, "Why should I enroll into some academy that was intended for weaklings?" "Naruto, If you haven't noticed, you're still a child and you need to be with people your age. The papers flew all over the desk when Naruto slammed his hand against it. He responded icily, I do not need anyone and I will not need anyone. In an attempt to soothe the boy, the Hokage got to his feet. Before leaving, he urged Naruto to listen to his reasoning, saying, Naruto, hear me out. Is your dream still to become Hokage? Naruto smirked and pointed to him, saying, Of course I do. I will take that title away from you. Don't die before I take it from you, old man. Sarutobi burst out laughing. Haha, Naruto, if you want to take my title, you will have to go through the academy exam and pass to become a genin. Naruto approached the window and then turned around, saying, If that's what I have to do, then so be it. His eyes of fire were brighter than ever, and he had a determined expression on his face. Sarutobi couldn't resist grinning. Naruto nodded before vanishing through the window, saying, I think you will one day, Naruto, that you will become the greatest Hokage ever. Now, get some sleep, you will be at the academy for the exam tomorrow morning. Don't be late. As Sarutobi approached the window Naruto had left open and shut it, he thought, very amazing. You can come out now, Kakashi. Emerging from the wall, Kakashi approached the Hokage. Hokage. Sama, he acknowledged him with a bow. Kakashi looked up and grinned, saying, If you're here, that means you saw Naruto already, right? Yes, he's grown a lot, and from his earlier entrance, I would say he's improved a lot. Kakashi suppressed a smile and said, I won't say much, but just stay on your toes, he'll give you a run for your money. We'll see in a few days then. Academy. The following morning, Naruto located the academy by following the instructions the Hokage gave him. There was silence as soon as he arrived on the academy's grounds. The kids stopped whatever they were doing because their parents were staring at him, and that was the only reason they stopped. Naruto sensed their fierce glares at him as he passed by and led their kids into the classroom, where they were safe. Naruto didn't want to despise the villagers, but sometimes he couldn't help it. This is why I didn't want to come back. He forced a smile on his face and kept moving forward in search of the instructor, Iruka Amino. In any case, what makes him so unique? As Naruto passed by, a boy with raven hair gave him a look. I have more problems than he does. In any case, he doesn't appear to be much. When he turned around, he saw his fangirls yelling his name, Sasuke-kun, come on, let's go. He passed them and entered the classroom, saying, HN. Within the classroom, the large classroom was filled with children's chatter. Anxiety over the impending test was unavoidable for the students. They all wanted to graduate and join the village's ninja force. When their instructor, Iruka Amino, entered, the pupils gazed at the door. All right, settle down now. As he made his way to the middle of the room, the conversation abruptly stopped. A 5'1" boy in a light blue shirt and black trousers entered the classroom and said, We have a new student who will be joining us for the exam today. Please give a warm welcome to Naruto Uzumaki. As he approached Iruka, Naruto sensed the quiet. Iruka noticed the hostile glare his students were giving Naruto. If he were instructing the boy who had the Kyuubi sealed inside of him, he would too. Rewind. The Hokage sent Iruka a message expressing his desire to see him. He had no idea what he wanted, but it must be very significant for an Anbu to come and get him. He stood in front of the Hokage now. Iruka, I will be adding a late entry into your class tomorrow for the exam. Iruka's expression was bewildered as he said, Late entry? I don't understand. It was already the end of the semester, and he doesn't think anyone could pass, even if the Hokage personally admitted them. Sarutobi was slowly examining the man to determine whether he was someone who resented Naruto for who he was. He's been traveling around for the past few years and he couldn't find the time to attend the academy. With all due respect, sir, an entry this late would mean being dead, last in the class. I know Iruka, but I don't think he cares about being dead. Last, is it too late? Iruka had no other option because the Hokage would put him in whether he said yes or no. Who is this child? He wanted to know if this boy, with the Hokage's backing, was who he was. Naruto Uzumaki. When Iruka hears the name, his eyes enlarge. No, definitely not, was his preferred response to the demon. Let the demon in with the other kids? I cannot let the other children be harmed by him. Sarutobi shook his head and sighed. Iruka, do you really think Naruto is the Kyuubi? He is only the person who is holding the demon back. I know the Kyuubi killed your parents and made you an orphan, but Naruto himself has grown up without knowing his parents and had to fend for himself. He had no one to take care of himself and was left out in the streets until I found him. Iruka felt the demon's image break. He never had the opportunity to see Naruto for himself because he was too preoccupied with the rumors. An orphan, like me. Iruka reflected on his early years and said, yes, but he has had it worse than you. He had the unshakable impression that the Kyuubi child was no longer a demon but rather a typical youngster who had been destined to bear a heavy load. I decided that I will accept him into my class tomorrow. Sarutobi bowed his head and said, thank you so much Iruka, this means a lot to me. Before leaving the room, Iruka bowed his head again and said, Hokage. Sama, there's no need for that. I will be going now. End of flashback. Let's see where you'll sit. Iruka searched the classroom for a vacant seat. Naruto shouldn't have been placed that far back. He noticed Nara Shikamaru sitting next to an empty seat. There is an empty seat next to Shikamaru. Shikamaru, raise your lazy hand so he knows who you are. Shikamaru raised his hand after slowly looking up to see the new student. A new student, very problematic. Naruto walked over to his seat after noticing that he would likely bother him until the end of the day. He saw that a raven-haired boy and two girls were among the students who were staring at him. Disregarding them, he took a seat beside Shikamaru. Iruka sat down in his chair to set up the preparations with his assistant Mizuki. All right, today is our graduation exam. We will be conducting the test in 20 minutes, so prepare for it. It will consist of making 3 bushins, a henge, and effectively using a kawarimi. I will be calling you one by one for testing. Until then, please stay in your seats and don't cause trouble. Mizuki gave Naruto a curious glance. Mizuki smiled slightly before returning to his exam preparations. So that's the demon brat, he will prove useful later when he fails. Naruto was taking notes on his teachers and classmates as he closely examined his new surroundings, compared to the exam that Araki Nichan gave me. This one will be simple. Sadist Nei Chan. He lowered his head and closed his eyes to get some rest until it was his exam time. Shikamaru smiled as he glanced at his neighbor. Shikamaru then followed Naruto's lead and lowered his head, saying, if he likes to sleep in class, then he's okay in my book. Like wildfire, the news has spread. The new boy had everyone's attention. Their parents don't want them to be associated with the boy. That's all they knew about him. Unbeknownst to Naruto, he has become the class's center of attention. Sasuke was observing Naruto when he said, look at that doby, putting his head down like he's going to pass. Though he is unable to identify it, he couldn't help but notice something familiar about Naruto. Hey Sakura, look at the new kid, Naruto. Sakura Haruno exclaimed, he can't compare to my Sasuke-kun. She was among the class's brightest students, second only to her friend Ino Yamanaka. They were the class's most intelligent kunoichi. Your Sasuke-kun? He's mine. The girls argued among themselves about who they liked best. Glaring at the girls, Naruto raised his head. When Sakura and Ino sensed a fierce glare from behind, they immediately stopped talking and turned to face the person staring at them. Unfortunately, Sasuke, who was staring at Naruto, turned his head a second too early and caught Sakura and Ino's attention. When they realized it was their Sasuke-kun staring at them, they screamed. Naruto had already put his head down and returned to sleep when they turned around. Iruka completed the preparations and got to his feet. He had hoped that all of his students passed. Okay, calm down. It's time to start your exams. When I call your name, please step up and perform your objectives. Shino approached slowly and nodded, saying, Aburame Shino, please come up and perform 3 bushins, a henge of a teacher, and use kawarimi effectively. After performing 3 bushins in the hand seals, he changed into a flawless Iruka and switched with one of his clones. Iruka and Mizuki confirmed his death by nodding to one another. Shino was given his headband by Iruka, who said, congratulations, you passed. Sakura and Ino were among those called after Shino, and they both passed with distinction. Iruka grinned at those who had already gone by. He was pleased to have contributed to their potential ninja careers. Uchiha Sasuke. Sasuke approached the front with a resolute expression. Raising his head a little, Naruto turned to face the Uchiha. He transformed them both into Iruka and Mizuki after witnessing him execute 5 bushins. Then, with 2 pupils, he employed Kawamori appropriately. Iruka congratulated him and grinned broadly. Sasuke smirked at Naruto as he turned around. Poking Shikamaru, Naruto rolled his eyes. Hey Naruto-san, who is that kid? Lifting his head, Shikamaru turned to face Sasuke. That's Uchiha Sasuke, the last of the Uchiha clan. They were all murdered one night and he is the last one left. The villagers treat him like a god because of his bloodline. After glancing at the Uchiha, Naruto burst out laughing. Shikamaru also chuckled, saying, he doesn't look like much. You know, you're not bad. Come join me in Choji at Ichiraku today. Naruto nodded and smiled slightly. I will see you at lunch then Nara-san. Shikamaru gave a headshake. Call me Shikamaru. I'm not my old man. It's too troublesome to be him. Okay then Shikamaru. Iruka read the name, Uzumaki Naruto, from his clipboard. The final person on the list who hasn't left yet is Naruto. By enrolling Naruto in the academy, he hoped the Hokage understood what he was doing. Naruto sensed that everyone was watching him as he descended to the front. Given that it was new and all, he reasoned that everyone was curious to see what he could do. Okay, you know the drill. 3 Bushins, Henge and a Kawarimi Jutsu. Naruto gave a nod. He produced 1 Bushin and held up one hand. Iruka looked at the boy with disappointment and said, I said 3 Bushins, not 1 Naruto. 3 could be earned by the typical academy student. Sasuke grinned as he sat there. I was aware of his weakness. Naruto appeared perplexed. I do have 3 Bushins out here. Naruto turned to see a boy insulting him while holding a dog on top of his head, saying, like hell you do Dobi. Iruka shouted, Kiba, sit down now. To get the boy to return to his seat, he gave Naruto a perplexed glance and asked, what do you mean Naruto? You said to perform 3 Bushins, a Henge and Kawarimi right Amino-san? Iruka made an effort to understand the boy's words, but he was unable to do so. If you can't produce 3 Bushins, I'm afraid you fail Naruto. After letting out a sigh, Naruto shook his head. Iruka leapt to his feet and examined his desk and chair, saying, look at the chair you're sitting on and the desk you're writing on sensei. After grinning, Naruto let go of the henge. The desk and chair became Naruto clones. Surprised, Iruka and Mizuki leapt back. Iruka took a closer look at the clones. These solid clones aren't Bushins. When he created them, he didn't even use any extra chakra. How and at what time did Naruto switch them? Iruka nodded with Mizuki after grinning. Congratulations Naruto, you passed with flying colors. There was silence in the rest of the class. His demonstration left them all in disbelief. Sakura tried to make sense of the scene by mentally reliving it. Sensei, how did he do that? It's a trick, right? She asked herself. Naruto merely shook his head when Iruka glanced at him. Sakura was relieved to hear, Sakura, what Naruto did was similar to a trick but it was how he did it that made him pass. She was aware of her Sasuke-kun's superior strength. It was a relief to Sasuke, too. I was aware of his weakness. What made me nervous when he did it? I believe he is concealing something. Iruka took another look at his list and got to his feet. He was genuinely pleased that all of his students had passed the test. Well, it looks like everyone in this classroom has passed the exam. Everyone here is now dismissed but come back in 1 hour so we can assign you to teams. Like Naruto Uzumaki, some of them do have bright futures. As their parents greeted them outside, the kids joyfully ran outside. Naruto was the last to depart, as Iruka saw. He was unable to resist feeling sorry for the boy. Gradually, Naruto left the room. He had no one with whom to share his news, and he had nowhere to go. Arrow. Sennin was most likely away conducting research, and his Nichan was absent. He noticed that the other kids were showing their parents their headbands. He missed the security of a true family. Hey, Fox. Have you ever had children? Naruto laughed at the fox and said, Family? I am the strongest of all the Biju brat. Now go away before I eat you. He was aware that conversing with the fox could temporarily distract him from his problems. Then he recalled today's lunch at Ichiraku with Shikamaru and his friend Shoji. Returning to the academy, they headed back to the academy, the boys. Shoji was a voracious eater, according to Naruto. Considering his size, he was also considerate and strong. Over multiple bowls of ramen, they quickly became friends. At first, Shoji was glad to have a new eating partner, and he didn't mind at all if someone could eat as much as him. Shikamaru glanced at the bowls those two were eating from. They were piled as high as the documents of the Hokage. After seeing those two eat, he felt that eating was too much trouble. They noticed Iruka returning to the classroom as they were making their way to their seats. Naruto paused before responding. Hey Naruto, how come I never saw you in this village before? He was reluctant to reveal himself. Before responding, Naruto gave Choji a quick glance. I was raised both in and out of this village for a while. I have been traveling everywhere since I was young. Choji gave Naruto a smile. That is so cool. You must have eaten different varieties of local cuisine. Naruto gave a head nod. Yup, food from different countries taste different but they're all good. As they sat down, the boys exchanged glances and shrugged, saying, all right, settle down. The class waited eagerly to find out which team they would be assigned to. I will now call out the team members and their sensei. Please remember it because I won't repeat it. Shikamaru raised his head to hear the rest of his team speak. Team 10 will be Nara Shikamaru, Akamichi Choji. Choji grinned at his best friend, and Shikamaru nodded back. And Yamanaka Ino. Your sensei will be Sarutobi Asuma. Before Iruka told her to sit down and be quiet, Ino yelled, "What? I'm paired up with them," about how useless her teammates were. Shikamaru gave Ino a quick glance before lowering his head again. Unfortunately for him, Ino heard him say, "How troublesome." She hurled her book at Shikamaru and struck him in the head, asking, "What did you say?" Choji laughed at what he saw. Ino bowed her head in apology to her sensei, saying, "Ino, please refrain yourself or I will do it for you." After a brief pause, Iruka said, "Team 8 will be Hinata Hyuga, Kiba Inuzuka, and Shino Aburame, and your sensei will be Yuhi Kurenai." Sakura leapt from her chair and said, "Team 7 will be Uchiha Sasuke, Haruno Sakura, and," she sputtered, "take that Ino.pig, at Ino." From the front Iruka shouted, "Sit down Sakura." Sasuke grinned when he heard, "Uzumaki Naruto. Your sensei will be Hakate Kakashi." He was happy to have the newcomer on his team. He could now see who was more powerful. Following the announcement, Iruka left the room, leaving the students to converse among themselves. "Okay, now that your teams have been called, please wait here and your sensei will pick you up." After 10 minutes, the students were silent when someone knocked on the door. Naruto looked up and saw a tall man who said, Is Team 10 here? I'm Asuma Sarutobi." He pondered the nature of his relationship with the elderly man. A woman with red hair came in after Team 10. Before long, every team was picked up, leaving Team 7 by itself in the classroom. "Is Team 8 here? I'm Kurenai Yuhi. It makes Sakura very happy. The boy of her dreams was in the room with her." "Yes. Love overcomes everything." Sasuke was too preoccupied with examining Naruto and ignoring her. Naruto simply didn't notice anything. He was sleeping with his head down. There were no chakra signals in the academy that he could pick up. He was content that their sensei had forgotten about them. This team didn't appeal to him much. After 2 hours, Hitaki Kakashi assumed his students were upset with him when he entered the room. He opened the door and entered, saying, "Oh well, it's not like I'm going to pass them anyway." "Yo." Kakashi greeted his students with a wave of his hand. Sakura blurted out, "Sensei, you're late," into the deserted classroom. When she turned around, she saw Naruto rubbing his eyes and said, "Shut up, Pinky. You're very loud." Kakashi saw Naruto, who was awake and alert. "He saw my chakra signature, then. Interesting kid." He noticed Sasuke glaring at him from his seat. "You see, there was this chicken that had trouble crossing the road and I had to help her." Sakura yelled at him, "Liar." Once more. He vanished into smoke, leaving Team 7 to ascend the stairs. "Anyway, my first impression of you three is you bore me. Meet me on the rooftop." Not caring where Naruto was, Sasuke and Sakura hurried up the stairs right away. Naruto grinned. Such compassionate teammates. He walked slowly up the stairs to the roof to meet their late sensei, saying, "I feel the love." Kakashi saw 2 of his 3 pupils ascend the stairs, exhausted and out of breath. "Where is Naruto?" He turned to see the blonde boy approaching slowly and methodically from behind them. Beneath his mask, Kakashi smiled. This team will be fascinating. They all stared at Naruto when he finally made it to the top of the stairs. "Okay, as soon as our last member arrives, we'll start with introductions." He hurried over to sit next to Sasuke. "Okay, now that we're here, why don't we introduce ourselves? Tell me your likes, dislikes, and your dreams for the future." Sakura was somewhat perplexed. She was unsure of what to say to their sensei. Sensei, why don't you go first so we can have an example?" Sasuke and Sakura scowled at Kakashi and said, "Well, fair enough. My name is Hitaki Kakashi. My likes and dislikes are many things, and my goals are none of your concern." Only his name was revealed to them. To himself, Naruto chuckled. "The copy ninja, Hitaki Kakashi, is his name." Naruto's silence caught Kakashi's attention. Naruto looked up and decided there was no way out of this situation. "You, the very quiet one, why don't you go first?" "My name is Uzumaki Naruto. I have no likes, I dislike this village. My dream is to one day become the greatest Hokage since the 4th. Sasuke chuckled. "You, Hokage? You couldn't even do a simple Bushin." Yeah, that's right." Sakura got involved. Sasuke became even more agitated when Naruto simply grinned. Kakashi gave Naruto's statement a nod. For the next introduction, he turned to face Sasuke. Okay, the brooding one, you're next. After giving Kakashi a fierce look, Sasuke went on. My name is Uchiha Sasuke. I have no likes or dislikes. My dream, no my goal, is to kill a certain man and resurrect my clan. Sasuke is awesome. Sakura watched him with dreamy eyes. Ignoring everyone, Naruto lay on his back and gazed at the clouds. Sakura jolted back to reality and said, Okay Pinky, you're up. My name is Haruno Sakura. I like, she says, laughing as she turns to face Sasuke. She turns to Naruto and says, I detest Ino. Pig and a certain blonde. My dream is to one day. She gazes at Sasuke once more and bursts into laughter. I am dealing with a mystery, an avenger, and a fangirl. Fantastic beginning. Kakashi merely shuddered when he considered the task fate had in store for him. Okay, tomorrow, we'll have one last survival exam. Naruto and Sasuke raised their heads. Sakura gasped, but sensei, I thought we already graduated. You may have graduated to prove that you're able to read and write, but in this exam, you have to prove to me that you're able to become ninjas. This has a 60.6% chance failing rate. What? Cried Sakura. While Naruto just sat there staring at the sky, Sasuke scowled and said, Don't bother eating anything because you'll just throw up. He exclaimed aloud, Such pretty clouds. Kakashi vanished in a cloud of smoke after saying, You're an interesting one, Naruto. Meet me at Training Grounds 7 tomorrow at 8 AM sharp. Slowly, Naruto stood up and walked toward the door. Naruto turned to see Sasuke standing there and said, Fight me Dobi. Sasuke shouted as Naruto began to leave, You're not worth my time. His words were, Don't turn your back on me. And he rushed directly at Naruto. The words, Idiot, were muttered by Naruto. Naruto moved aside, protruding his foot, and tripped Sasuke as he approached with his fist raised. Sasuke noticed Naruto's eyes as he was falling. He thought of his brother. Their eyes are the same shade of cold. Naruto softly spoke to him in a whisper. You're really weak, you know that, Sasuke-kun? I could have killed you in so many different ways right now, but lucky for you, I want some ramen. Naruto left Sasuke on the ground and proceeded to leave. His shock prevented him from moving. His brother and Naruto were nearly identical in their similarities. Sakura rushed towards Naruto, her hands raised to slap him, exclaiming, Baka Naruto. How dare you do that to my Sasuke-kun? After turning around, Naruto took her hand. Sakura dropped to her knees, trembling as Naruto released her hand and said, If you touch me, Haruno, I will break every part of your hand and make you wish that you never met me. Kakashi glanced across the building as Naruto stepped off the rooftop. I've never seen those two shake up before, so that's interesting. Oh well, it's not my problem. Kakashi vanished into his own world once more. After a few minutes, Sakura moved on from her brief encounter with Naruto. Sasuke was still on the ground when she turned to look around. His eyes were vacant, and she saw it. After shaking him a few times, she said, Sasuke-kun. Sasuke-kun. Are you alright? What did he do to you? Before he jolted back to the present. He didn't do anything, he didn't want to fight me. I knew he couldn't take you. If Sasuke-kun didn't want to hurt him, he must be weak. Yes, exactly, Sakura mentally reassured herself. She didn't want her Sasuke-kun to be perceived as weak. Hey Sasuke-kun, do you want to go on a date with me? After giving her a quick glance, Sasuke stood up. No, he kept on leaving, but Sakura took his refusal as a hint for perhaps the next time. She chased after him, saying, Wait for me, Sasuke-kun. Later that evening as Naruto walked slowly back to his house, he said, Oh, that was some great ramen dinner. That man can sure cook up a mean noodle. The streets were deserted, and it was getting dark. Unlike him, they were at home, where they had people waiting for them. He had no family to return to. There was nobody there to greet him. Those who claim that death is the worst thing in the world are definitely mistaken. Naruto was out on his own when he noticed that families were all content and joyful. He was strolling around when he noticed Mizuki hopping quickly and stealthily from rooftop to rooftop. Well, since I have nothing better to do, I might as well check out what he is up to. Naruto followed him into the forest, but he quickly hid when he sensed another chakra signature coming. He recognized Iruka Amino. Why is Iruka Sensei in this place? He witnessed Iruka leap ahead of Mizuki. Naruto glanced at the large scroll behind Mizuki's back and said, Hand over that scroll, Mizuki. It is against the law to steal the Forbidden Scroll. The Forbidden Scroll, then. He waited and watched the scene unfold. I recall Arrow Sennin telling me that it holds great power in there. Iruka pulled out his kunai and prepared to charge, saying, "Don't be such a drag, Iruka. Join me and we can learn the secrets of the scroll together." Iruka charged directly at Mizuki, saying, "Over my dead body." Mizuki was prepared for the attack. Iruka was thrown back into a tree after he thrust a palm strike into his face. Reaching for his weapon pouch, he hurled a handful of kunais, knocking Iruka to his knees and arms, preventing him from rising. "Well, since you can't join me, it looks like we part here." An unidentified ninja punched Mizuki in the stomach as he reached for his shuriken. He stumbled back, clutching his stomach to get a clear view of his assailant. Iruka was shocked to see his savior when he looked up. As he watched Mizuki get back up, Naruto grinned and said, "Naruto Uzumaki, at your service." Mizuki attempted to use his words to get out of it. He is aware that things appear dire, but perhaps he could persuade the demon to accompany him. "Why don't you join me, Naruto? We're the same, you know." All Naruto could do was laugh at him. "We're nothing alike. I'm so much better looking than you." Mizuki grinned. "We both want something more in our lives. You have a secret that possibly even you don't know of. Do you know why you're hated, Naruto? Why everyone keeps giving your dirty looks?" Iruka understood Mizuki's intention. He attempted, but was unable, to stand up. "Stop, Mizuki, it's against the rules." "Naruto, the reason why everyone hates you," he started to say, "is because I'm the Kyuubi no Yoki." Naruto cut him off and completed his statement. Mizuki had a startled expression. He slowly withdrew, asking, "How did you know? Not even the scroll could save him if the Kyuubi was set free." Naruto approached Mizuki and said, "I have known for a long time and there is a reason why I came back now." Mizuki spat out venomous words, "Demon, stay away from me." Naruto was grinning a little savagely. "I could care less if you try to destroy this pitiful village, but if you try and use that power to hurt the few precious people that I hold dear to me, I'll kill you." Mizuki raised his hands in an attempt to protect himself. "You talk like a big demon, let's see you walk it." Mizuki punched Naruto in the face. Iruka nodded when he noticed Naruto jerking his head to the right to dodge the punch, saying, "Word does not get out, Iruka. Sensei." With his palm facing out, Naruto withdrew his hand. His right hand began to spin with blue chakra, saying, "Don't look away, you're in for a surprise." A perfect sphere began to form as they began to come together. Iruka gave a startled look. When Mizuki tried to back away, he discovered Naruto clinging to his shirt. That jutsu looks familiar. When they can see chakra to a degree that is visible to the naked eye, who wouldn't flee? He noticed that Naruto was smiling while holding on to his vest tightly. Rasengan. After letting out a cry, Naruto pushed his right hand into Mizuki's chest. Mizuki was instantly killed when the impact sent him spinning into a tree. A 3-centimeter thick dent mark was left by the impact's force. Naruto approached Iruka, who was hurt. He slowly extended his hand to Iruka, not sure if Iruka posed a threat to him, and asked, "Are you alright, Iruka? Sensei?" Iruka took his hand after grinning at him. "You have my greatest thanks and respect, Naruto." "No problem, Sensei. You happened to show up before me. Now what you saw here tonight is to be kept confidential between you and me. Do you understand?" Iruka simply raised his eyebrows. His entire body hurt and ached. "I'll treat you to ramen sometime, Naruto, but for now, can you help me to the hospital?" Before returning to assist Iruka in getting to the hospital, Naruto went to get the scroll and said, "Yeah, hold on a second. I have to leave you at the hospital, Sensei. I have to meet my sensei early in the morning." After glancing at Naruto, Iruka burst out laughing. "Don't worry about being late, Naruto. Kakashi has been known to be the late ninja. He would probably be late to his own funeral. Just take your time and eat some breakfast. No sense in not doing it." Naruto dropped Iruka off at the hospital and headed home, saying, "Thank you for the advice." Tower of Hokage. I see that he recovered the scroll and learned the Rasengan from Jiraiya. Well, I suppose I can go on reading my book now that it's safe. Sarutobi peered into his crystal ball. He is currently taking Iruka to the hospital after witnessing the events leading up to Naruto's murder of Mizuki. Tomorrow is going to be an extremely interesting day. Sarutobi pulled out his dubious-looking orange book and left it there. Naruto was startled awake by the sounds of his expensive, low-quality alarm clock. He was able to purchase it from multiple stores, making it one of the few necessities he could afford. As he read the time, his eyes briefly lost focus. He narrowed his eyes to check the time. 7 a.m. Naruto pressed the snooze button once more before falling back asleep, reasoning that only idiots would be up this early. Kakashi would be late, according to Haruka-san. I suppose I'll wake up in a few more minutes. Naruto welcomed darkness once more. After an hour, Naruto had to wake up as bright rays of sunlight pushed through his apartment's lone window. Despite his best efforts, he was unable to escape the light. Looking at his clock, he turned his head. Slowly, Naruto rose from his bed and said, 8:25 a.m. I guess it's time to get up. He had plenty of time to prepare because he knew Kakashi would likely arrive around 10. Ground of Training 7 Sasuke and Sakura were already at the training grounds when Naruto arrived. The Uchiha was too preoccupied to listen to Sakura's attempt to speak with Sasuke. Well, I think I'll stay hidden for a while because I can't feel Kakashi's chakra signature anywhere. Naruto assumed Pinky would not even speak to Sasuke and that he was too arrogant to approach him. Suppressing his chakra, Naruto leapt stealthily into a tree near his teammates, reasoning, why make life harder than it already is? Kakashi arrived a few hours later, strolling amiably in the direction of Sakura and Sasuke. Yo, he said, gesturing with his left hand. Sakura yelled, you and Naruto are both late, back at him. She wasn't feeling well. She skipped breakfast when she woke up at 6 in the morning. She was too exhausted to draw Sasuke's attention. The best way to describe her would be that she was angry. Kakashi turned to face a tree and said, Naruto's late? I don't think so. Naruto, why don't you grace us with your presence? Instead of seeing their blonde teammate, the Genins turned their heads. Sakura gave Kakashi a look that suggested he was insane. Sakura wanted to vent her frustrations on someone, but he wasn't quite here. Kakashi. Sensei. I don't think Naruto is here. Sasuke-kun and I have been here since 7 and we haven't seen him. Kakashi gave a small laugh. Sakura turned to face Naruto, who was leaning against the tree, and said, I've been here since 10 a.m. Pinky. Naruto greeted his teammates by waving his hand and saying, Yo. Sasuke's gaze enlarges. When did he arrive? I was completely unaware of him. Sakura screamed her famous cry, Naruto, why are you late? One day, you'll awaken the dead with your voice, Pinky. Naruto covered his ears to check for bleeding. After saying, anyway, now that we're here, let's start this test. Kakashi went to a tree stump and set a timer. He tied it to his waist and held out 2 silver bells. It is 10:30 right now. You guys have until 12 o'clock to get the bells from me. Come at me with the intention of killing me. Sakura asked with a hint of worry, are you sure about that, sensei? She didn't want to witness her Sasuke-kun severely beating her sensei. Kakashi questions whether she was worried about him or that Sasuke would severely beat him. Don't worry about me, Sakura. You guys won't land a scratch on me. I'm not a Junin for nothing, you know. Naruto chuckled a little. Kakashi flicked the bells after giving Naruto a quick glance. Sakura noticed that there were only 2 bells. Kakashi. Sensei, why are there only 2 bells when there are 3 of us? I'm glad you asked. It means that one of you will fail indefinitely and will be sent back to the academy. Kakashi smiled. Sasuke grinned. He would be among those who receive the bell. Until he achieves his objective of killing his brother, nothing can stop him. Naruto yawned after glancing at the bells. Ready. Kakashi cleared his throat, pausing briefly. Begin. The trio of Genins vanished from view. The copy ninja walked toward the middle of the field and looked around, thinking, this will be one interesting test. Sakura was observing her sensei standing in a nearby bush. If I want to pass with Sasuke-kun, I need to get a bell. She was curious about his whereabouts. Before she heard a sound, she glanced around. She looked over and saw her sensei's face. Boo Sakura, she exclaims, her eyes enlarging as he displays a seal. Kakashi raised his hand in a seal of a ram. Megan. Narakumi no Jutsu. Sakura's vision became blurry and she noticed leaves swirling around her. In an attempt to escape her sensei, she fled from her hiding spot. She noticed her beloved Sasuke-kun leaning against a tree, his body covered in wounds and blood oozing from his mouth. The sight was distressing. She heard him say, Sakura, run. Just before he passed out. She screamed loudly and then passed out. When his student screamed, Kakashi just stared at her. She was duped by the simplest genjutsu. She should be able to control her chakras, right? When Kakashi saw how easily Sakura fell to his genjutsu, he began to perspire. I wonder how reliable those reports are now. A girlish scream reached Sasuke, who was hiding in a nearby tree. He must have reached Sakura, then. Now that there are 2 bells and I only need 1, it's easier for me. He kept his eyes open for his sensei. Naruto looked in the direction of the screamer's voice. He laughed to himself. Hey, Pinky must have fallen hard, and then he found a tree with a comfortable spot to lie. Kakashi entered the field. 1 down, 2 left. He pondered how Naruto had progressed and how the notorious Uchiha would fare. Kakashi was just standing there, exposing himself to Sasuke. There, he threw a kunai with an explosive note attached in Kakashi's direction, leaving himself open. Kakashi heard a whizzing sound approaching and made a last-second dodge. When he saw that there was an explosive note attached, he was taken completely by surprise. There was a loud boom as the note exploded, sending mild shockwaves through the vicinity. Kakashi leapt to the left, away from Sasuke. He recognized his opportunity to strike. Leaping from his tree, he threw several kunais with his left hand and shurikens with his right. As the kunais moved beneath Kakashi, the shurikens headed for him. Well, his aim could use some work. I should have been struck by a combination of the kunais. He might have lost everything because of that move. As the shurikens were approaching him directly, Kakashi saw the kunais flying beneath him, narrowly missing him. There was a loud thump, and then Kakashi saw more shurikens and kunais were flying in all directions. Shit. He gave me the impression that he was a novice in order to divert the kunais' attention. I can't undervalue Sasuke Uchiha. Sasuke watched from a distance as his trap impaled his sensei. Over already? When Sasuke saw his sensei's bloody body transformed into a log, he became extremely vigilant. Kawamari. That means he knows where I am. Sasuke bolted out of the tree and into the open space. So that's where he was, Kakashi said, leaping out of his own hiding place and facing Sasuke. As he watched his teammate attempt to outshine the well-known copy ninja, Naruto yawned. Naruto observed the battle between Sasuke and Kakashi with little interest, saying, "This test is so obvious, I'm surprised Sakura didn't notice this first." Although he was aware that Sasuke was way beyond his capabilities, it was amusing to watch Kakashi take him to task. To protect himself from his sensei, Sasuke pulled out a pair of kunais and raised them. Kakashi reached into his weapon pouch as he was ready to throw it. Sasuke hesitated, and Kakashi saw it. Kakashi took out a dark green book and said, "Why didn't you attack me? I was just going to take out this. Don't worry, you probably won't even stop me from reading." Sasuke was furiously angry. His sensei was making fun of him, even though he was supposed to be a Uchiha. Sasuke hurried over to Kakashi after throwing his kunai. Kakashi stepped back to avoid his student's punch after catching the kunai with his right hand. Sasuke struck Kakashi's face with his right hand. Kakashi caught the fist after dropping the kunai. Kakashi used his left hand to catch the kick that Sasuke threw from his sides after he had turned his body around. In order to throw the Uchiha away, Kakashi started to spin his body, gaining momentum and utilizing the boy's momentum as well. After landing on a tree, Sasuke vanished in smoke. Bushin. When Kakashi turned back, he saw Sasuke completing some hand seals. Kaden. Jutsu no Gokakyu. After completing the seal, Sasuke threw a massive ball of fire in Kakashi's direction. He shouted to himself in his head, "An academy student shouldn't have this much chakra reserves to pull this off." He ran toward the approaching fireball and vanished. The burning of his sensei in front of him was drawing Sasuke's focus away from everything else. He was unaware that Kakashi had come up behind him and knocked him unconscious. Naruto was having fun watching Kakashi and Sasuke fight. Wow, that's a huge fireball. Naruto whistled softly at the spectacle he had seen. Well, I suppose it's my turn now. Naruto vanished from his tree. Sakura was just beginning to awaken. She stood up with a painful ache in her head. When she saw her Sasuke-kun unconscious on the floor, her eyes widened. "Sasuke-kun," she exclaimed as she rushed to check on him. Sakura heard a voice she recognized behind her. "He's okay, Pinky, Kakashi. Sensei didn't hurt him that much." Naruto was simply standing there when she turned her head. She exclaimed, "Why didn't you help him, Naruto?" Because she felt he had failed to assist Sasuke. She continued to yell at him until Naruto began to find her presence bothersome. Naruto gave her a chilly stare. He glanced around before whispering to Sakura, "Why would I even consider helping someone who disrespects me? He has done nothing to deserve my respect." Quietly but icily, he said, "I promise you that you won't live to see tomorrow if you plan on crossing my path as well." Sakura noticed Naruto's emotionless face and icy eyes, which sent shivers up her spine. She averted her gaze because she could no longer bear to look into his icy, hard eyes. At the moment, she was afraid. Sakura whispered softly. Sasuke-kun will beat you. Just you wait, you jerk. She wasn't sure if she was simply foolish or brave enough to confront Naruto. If he's going to kick my ass, then tell me why is he unconscious? Naruto asked her, grinning amusedly. Sakura was unable to respond, so she didn't. To rouse Sasuke, she gave him a gentle shake. Slowly, Sasuke woke up and felt a shaking hand. When he finally sat up, Naruto was standing beside him. Then he glared at Naruto and asked, "What are you doing here, Dobi?" Naruto smiled a little bit. Naruto calmly retorted, "You sure are quick to judge for a person that got his ass handed to him. Why don't we work together to get a bell?" Sakura helped Sasuke slowly pick himself up. "I don't need help from a dead last like you." Naruto turned to face Sasuke again as he began to leave, saying, "You may not want my help, but don't take your anger out on me because someday I might have to kill you, Sasuke-kun." In an attempt to locate Kakashi so he could retrieve the bells, Naruto vanished, saying, "Don't say I didn't extend my services to help someone weaker than me." Sasuke clenched his jaw because he felt the power emanating from the blonde in addition to not receiving a bell. Kakashi observed the scene from his hiding place and said, "I think he got the meaning of the test, but he didn't have to be so cold to them. He was only waiting for his remaining students, as 2 of the 3 had already failed." Nowhere did he detect Naruto's chakra signal. Kakashi received a fist to the face as he was surveying his surroundings in his tree. As he flew from the tree and hit the ground, Kakashi heard the greeting, "Boo Sensei." In an attempt to relieve the pain, Kakashi rubbed his face. "He's really strong." When Kakashi raised his head, Naruto was standing there beaming. He noticed Naruto standing there and said, "Please show me a good time, Hitaki-san." He saw that Naruto was missing his sword. "Where is your sword then?" Naruto calmly responded, "I said show me a good time, Hitaki-san, not me killing you." He questioned whether his sensei was more powerful than his Chan. Ninja rule number 27. Don't be cocky. Kakashi performed a leg drop, vanishing from the ground and emerging atop Naruto. Raising his left hand, Naruto caught his heel without turning around. When his student caught his leg with minimal effort, Kakashi was taken aback. Naruto hurled Kakashi across the field with force, saying, "I'm not cocky sensei, I'm just stating the obvious." With minimal effort, Kakashi touched down on the ground. Sakura and Sasuke were standing there, watching the action unfold. Sasuke was intently observing the match, furious at Naruto for concealing his power, saying, "That Dobi landed a punch on him when I couldn't even hit him. I must possess his strength." Sakura was fixated on the match. She hardly heard Sasuke murmur, "Kakashi Sensei isn't reading that book of his. Does it mean that he's taking this seriously, Sasuke-kun?" "Looks like it." The two observed as Naruto and Kakashi both stretched before confronting one another. Naruto ran in the direction of the copy ninja. Kakashi only caught glimpses of the enigmatic blonde. Kakashi barely avoided Naruto's leg sweep by leaping up when he appeared in front of him, but he was taken aback when he saw another Naruto jump over the lower one with his leg pointed in his direction. Out of sheer instinct, Kakashi raised his arms in defense. "What the devil?" He felt the kick push him back in midair, but I didn't see him do any hand seals. He landed in a crouch after doing a backflip. Ninja rule number 1, taijutsu. Kakashi lunged at him, aiming to backslap him with his right hand, but Naruto ducked out of the way and Kakashi punched him with his left. The punch missed Naruto because he moved slightly to the right and avoided it. Sensing Naruto's damage, he retaliated by thrusting Kakashi in the chest, sending the copy ninja reeling. "He's not bad, damn it. He succeeded in thrusting me in the chest. He's not bad at all." Naruto rushed towards Kakashi, launching a barrage of punches and kicks before Kakashi could react. Kakashi gave way under the force of Naruto's fist as it slammed into his palm. Kakashi blocked Naruto's leg as he flipped over and slammed it against his arm. The ground cracked beneath them from the pressure of that kick. Ninja rule number 2, Kakashi Sensei, ninjutsu. With a startled expression on his face, Kakashi's lone eye watched Naruto pass over him. On top of him, he witnessed Naruto explode. Kakashi barely escaped at that time in Bunshin Daibakuha. He was bleeding rapidly and had cuts all over his body. He had to get this over with quickly because his body hurt. He heard Naruto yell something as he was about to touch his hite. Doryu Taiga, Doden. When Kakashi realized he couldn't stay upright on the mud, he felt himself slipping on the ground. Naruto materialized in front of him as he struggled to get his bearings. Kakashi was struck in the stomach by Naruto before he could block. Kakashi lost his footing and slipped onto the mud as a result. Kakashi was furious beyond belief. This was his test to see if his team could be regarded as a team, but he was struggling with the boy and there was a genin with enough strength to be a junin. Kakashi attempted to lift his hite as he stood back up, but he stopped when he noticed Naruto grinning before vanishing into the wind. He reappeared in the rear, but Kakashi was able to block him because he was slipping on the mud. Kakashi continued to strike the boy, but each time he did, he would teleport around him and vanish and reappear in a different location. How is this speed possible? As Naruto struck him, he noticed that his reaction was slowing down. Kakashi's body was screaming for him to lose, but he was too arrogant to allow a genin to overcome him. He lifted the hite with his hand. As he leapt away from Kakashi, Kakashi heard Naruto whisper softly, "So that's the famous Sharingan. Too bad this is already over." Kakashi spotted Naruto's faint outlines as he leapt away. Before realizing that Naruto was mouthing the words to him, the copy ninja noticed that Naruto was opening his mouth but that no sound was coming out of it. He was shocked to discover that Naruto already knew about his inner demon, but why not show him? "You may know me as the demon, but here today, I'll show you the truth." What exactly was this child attempting to do? Naruto smiled a little and then extended his hand. The blue chakra started to spin around. A sphere began to form as it began to reassemble. When Kakashi saw it, his eyes grew wide. When he saw Naruto speeding towards him with the Rasengan aimed at his chest, he was too stunned to move. Sensei's technique, maybe I shouldn't have said come at me with the intent of killing me. He waited to die with his eyes closed. Am I dead? When he opened his eyes, Naruto was standing in front of him. I didn't feel anything. Why did you stop, Naruto? The alarm only rang after Naruto held out 2 bells. Naruto gave him one last glance before making his way back to the clock, saying, I passed. I expected much more from the famous copy ninja. The breath that Kakashi was suppressing left him. He's something else, sensei. As he hobbled after Naruto toward the center, Kakashi gradually felt the sensation returning to him from his legs. The onlookers who watched the entire event were in complete shock. Sakura was shaking with terror. She was now reconsidering how she had been handling the blonde genin. She witnessed him challenge their sensei and prevail. Few people were able to accomplish that. In his own little world, Sasuke was pouting. How did that dobi gain so much authority? When I need power, why does someone like him get so much? After looking sad for a moment, Sasuke complied with the statement, Sasuke-kun, I think we should head back too. Sakura was silently strolling beside Sasuke when she said, damn that Naruto, how dare he make Sasuke-kun suffer like this. Behind him, Kakashi saw his 2 students arrive. Kakashi calmly stated, since you 2 didn't even get a bell and Naruto got a bell, you guys fail. He watched for reactions. Sasuke was holding his fist, and Sakura had her head down. Do you have anything you want to say to them, Naruto? Naruto smiled as he turned to face his fellow genins. Their eyes were full of hope. The words, you turned down my offer, you wanted to do this yourself. Well, you can fail by yourself. I have no need for useless comrades. Caused Kakashi's one eye to go crazy. Although the boy did pass his test, he would have to explain to the Hokage why only one of his pupils did. Kakashi wanted to strangle this boy, but he held back. Damn it, Naruto, you're not making this any easier. Kakashi. Sensei, I know you wanted me to say the real meaning of this test, but why should I when these brats don't deserve anything? Naruto replied coldly. While Sasuke was nearly ready to kill the boy, Sakura winced at his tone, tears welling up in her eyes, and her mood dwindled. In a real world, people like you would have been killed over and over. You think knowing the answers to everything would get you out of a hostage situation? You can't barter your life with a stupid history answer. Get real, Pinky. Naruto was not trying to be nuanced. He was making fun of his teammates by playing to their advantages. The great Uchiha, too proud to accept help. You are nobody when you're dead. Itachi would have killed you without a second thought. When Naruto brought up Itachi, Sasuke raised his head. A low growl escaped his lips. How do you know, Itachi? Naruto gave Sasuke a chilly look. Don't think you're in any position to demand anything from me, Uchiha. Teme. You are not worth my time, little one. Naruto yelled with venom. Kakashi observed his team engage in a small verbal altercation. They should be able to vent their frustrations and perhaps even form a bond. Silently, he laughed. Is this my penalty for consistently arriving late? As he agonizedly waited for his genin team, Kakashi felt as though his Icha Paradise books were on fire. Damn you, Dobi. Sasuke swung a swift punch at Naruto with all of his strength. Sasuke. Sasuke-kun. His actions caught Sakura and Kakashi off guard. Naruto anticipated that something similar would occur. He retreated a step and then delivered his own blow to square off the Uchiha's punch. There was a loud crack as Naruto's punch sent Sasuke flying back. Now his left fist was being nursed by his right hand. Naruto's fist had now crushed the bones in his knuckles. Sakura rushed towards her beloved Sasuke. Ignoring her fears of Naruto, Sakura looked him in the eye and said, "Sasuke-kun, are you okay?" "Naruto, why did you go and do that? Why did you have to hurt him?" Naruto gave her a glare in return. Naruto began to leave, saying, "Why should I allow him to attack me? If you stand in my way, Haruno, I'll kill you too." Sasuke was too busy nursing his right hand before he got back up to say, "Mama, Naruto, you didn't have to go that far. Why don't you tell them the real reason of this test before you go?" "Naruto." Sasuke rushed in with his left hand and shoved Sakura away. When Kakashi emerged between the boys, Naruto had already turned around and was ready to respond. Sasuke was forced to stop when he was grabbed by the wrist. "Teamwork, you ignoramus. A genin cannot hope to best a junin. This test was designed to have us work in a team to beat him, but I gave you two the chance to work with me, but you didn't, so you don't deserve my respect nor my help." Naruto glanced at Sasuke. Naruto's icy blue eyes made Sasuke wince. Naruto whispered to Sasuke, "Never cross me, Uchiha, or I'll make Itachi look like a little toy compared to me." Kakashi let out a groan. "Naruto, don't add any more unnecessary insults to him. So what will you do with the extra bell? Who do you want to give it to?" Naruto gave Kakashi a strange look. Naruto began to depart but halted himself. "If you're still testing me, I could care less, but I'm keeping this bell. Nothing is keeping me away from becoming Hokage. I could care less if they fail. For the sake of this exercise, I'll give them my bell so they can pass, but I'm warning you, Hitaki-san, if the Uchiha makes a move on me again, I'll kill him." He then vanished into the wind. Kakashi felt a sense of relief. Though he gave up his bell, he believed Naruto would have been self-centered. They passed the test, according to this. Would I still be standing here alive if Naruto had gone all out? Kakashi considered this idea. Kakashi vanished in a cloud of smoke after saying, "I'm disappointed in you too, letting your personal thoughts get in the way. Like Naruto said, you guys passed. Meet me on the bridge tomorrow at noon. I need to get to a hospital quickly." Kakashi was becoming aware of the severity of his injuries and was having trouble staying conscious. Sasuke collapsed to the ground. How is Itachi known to him? If I want to defeat my brother, I must defeat Naruto. Tower of Hokage Sarutobi was discussing their day with a few of his Junin ninjas. He wanted to know how the teams performed and whether they were good enough to be a team. He searched the room for a specific individual. Everyone except Kakashi is here. When the door opened and Kakashi entered the room, covered in bandages, there was silence. Guy yelled, "My hip rival, who could have done this to you? I thought I was your eternal rival." Kakashi let out a sigh. Everyone stared in awe as Guy said, "Not now, Guy, I don't have time for this." The copy ninja could only be so severely injured by a skilled individual. Everyone heard Sarutobi's little, inaudible laugh. He only gave Kakashi a smile. "Didn't I tell you not to underestimate him?" To endure the agony, Kakashi merely gritted his teeth. The room began to reverberate with murmurs. He was stronger than expected. "I had to use it against him," they whispered after glancing at Kakashi. Kakashi sensed that his reputation was deteriorating. The Hokage coughed a little. After a brief chorus of highs, everyone in the room fell silent. "Now that we have all seen Kakashi, let's start, shall we?" Asuma moved forward to get started. The second generation of the group combination, which was made up of their fathers, was Team 10, consisting of Nara Shikamaru, Akamichi Choji, and Yamanaka Ino Pass. Their teamwork was supposed to be the best in the entire village. Nara Shikamaru is unmotivated, but I suspect he's a true genius. Akamichi Choji is a powerhouse. With his clan's techniques, he will be a great frontline commander one day. Yamanaka Ino has talent, but she's still rough on the edges. She's kind of obsessed with the Uchiha boy. Asuma sighed. He stepped aside and lighted another cigarette. Kurenai took the stage to present her group. Team 8 consisting of Hyuga Hinata, Inazuka Kiba, and Aburame Shino Pass as well. Hinata lacks confidence, but she has some skill and technique, probably because of her family's Juken style. Kiba is an excellent tracker and rough on the edges. He has a great combination with his dog. Kurenai waited for the Hokage to respond. Shino is the quiet type. It looks like he may be like Shikamaru, who thinks his way into victory. His relationship with his clan techniques makes him a valuable member for this team. She didn't want to ruin her first experience as a Junin instructor. To calm her fears, the Hokage smiled slightly. Good job, Kurenai-san. Kurenai moved forward, followed by Genma. He then moved aside to make room for Kakashi, saying, "My team failed. They didn't care much for being a ninja. I think it's better this way." Everybody looked in Kakashi's direction. They were eager to hear the whole tale. Everyone was staring at Kakashi. With a sigh, he moved forward. Everyone looked at Kakashi in surprise as they said, Team 7 consisting of Haruno Sakura, Uchiha Sasuke, and Uzumaki Naruto passed as well. He was stuttering, Anko. They passed. Everyone was aware of Kakashi's stringent rules for his group. Everyone's expression remained one of shock. Yeah, I gave them the bell test and they passed, or rather Naruto passed. Genma burst out laughing. Naruto gave you a hard time, didn't he? After giving Genma a fierce look, Kakashi went on. Whoever wrote the reports on those three should have their heads examined. Sakura fell for the Magen. Narukumi. She didn't realize it was a genjutsu even after the test. Sasuke showed some potential but his pride and anger got the better of him. Kakashi took a moment to think. As they waited for Uzumaki's part, everyone was tense. Naruto gave me the most trouble. I couldn't read my book and I had to pull up my hite to use my Sharingan. Guy pounded his fist into the air and exclaimed, the incredible power of youths. The fire burns greatly in Naruto-san. Sarutobi just grinned. Kakashi glanced at the Hokage and said, I take it Naruto displayed qualities that exceed the normal genin, right? He used the Rasengan on me. The Hokage was now taken aback as well. Naruto's abilities is off the charts. He easily exceeds Chunin and could make Junin if he wanted to. I haven't seen this much potential since Itachi. Naruto Uzumaki, what a strange mystery. The room's consensus was the same. Kakashi was rubbing his arm and reflecting on their battle when he said, I doubt I would be here alive if Naruto went all out. I underestimated him this time but I won't underestimate him again. Naruto's a bit too cold towards his teammates though. Sarutobi gave a headshake. I expected as much. He barely has any contact with people his age. I'm sure you know the story Kakashi. Kakashi raised his eyebrows. Sarutobi wanted to discuss Naruto with his instructor in order to inform him of the future. Now that we heard all the teams, the ones that passed will begin their missions starting tomorrow. You're all dismissed. Kakashi, please get Naruto for me. Kakashi went to fetch the young Uzumaki as the other instructors left. Kakashi searched the entire village for his pupil. His apartment was empty when he checked it. He looked in the restaurants for him, but he was not there. In order to be present, he returned to the training grounds. Naruto and his clones were engaged in combat at the training grounds. Naruto saw an additional chakra signal coming his way. Not even turning to face Kakashi, Naruto said, Hey Kakashi. Sensei, what can I do for you? He was too preoccupied with cutting his clones. Kakashi gazed at the enormous number of clones as he stood in the field. The Hokage requests your presence, Naruto. Naruto and his clones kept fighting. He slashed out at two clones, saying, the old man can wait a bit, I'm going to finish this first. With a shrug, Kakashi pulled out his book and began to read. When a blonde mystery was in front of him, he had trouble reading. Naruto, what do you think of being in Team 7? Naruto turned around after slashing 3 clones. Those weaklings? They would be dead before they step outside the village. Kakashi took that very hard. Naruto reminded him of himself when he was younger. You know Naruto, you should stop being so cold towards them. They're your teammates and friends. Naruto gave a little chuckle. Friends care about each other, Kakashi. Sensei. Those two are only looking out for themselves. If they don't care for me, why should I waste my time on garbage like them? They have done nothing to gain my respect and yet, they still mock me. Kakashi was about to speak when Naruto yelled. Shiranui.Ryu. When Naruto destroyed 20 clones in a single blow, Kurayami Sakakaru Kakashi was stunned. After putting his sword away, Naruto turned to face Kakashi. I am who I am, Kakashi. Sensei, I will protect those few people precious to me no matter what. Those that harm my precious people will be dealt with by me. I am the future Hokage. I am Naruto Uzumaki. At the introduction of his student, Kakashi smiled slightly. He was about to continue when he noticed that the Naruto he was speaking to had vanished. I believe you can do it, Naruto. He had been duped by a clone. Kage Bushin. Damn, he got me. As he returned to his home for a well-earned nap, he burst out laughing. Tower of Hokage. The Hokage turned around, startled, and said, I'm here, Sarutobi. Ouija. What did you want me for? How did he approach me from behind? He noticed Naruto enjoying the peaceful breeze while still leaning against the window. Why don't you use the door like everyone else, Naruto? Naruto smiled a little. I'm not like everyone else, you out of everyone should have known that. It's already been a long day, Sarutobi said, shaking his head. So how was your exam today? Naruto smiled slightly at him. The Hokage grinned and said, I promised you that I would one day take that title away from you, old man. Although he was already relieved that Naruto had died, he was interested to see how he perceived his teammates. How do you like your teammates, Naruto? Naruto looked out the window with his head turned. Sarutobi sensed the coldness in his voice as he said, I'll be honest with you, Ouija-san. If I saw them in the battlefield, I would have killed them without a second thought. I really hate people who look down on others. They don't really know the pain they're causing for others. Sarutobi experienced the same anguish and rage as Naruto. Maybe if you let yourself be friends with them, they'll change their ways. Naruto gave a little chuckle. With friends like them, I wouldn't need enemies. Why should I need friends? Hi, my name is Naruto. I'm the vessel for the Great Fuzz. Ball. Seriously, Ouija-san, do you think they want to be friends with me? Naruto was tired. He was really tired of talking about this. Sarutobi's only desire was to exact revenge on the villagers for injuring the boy he believed to be his grandson. Naruto, I know it's hard for you. I'm not asking you to forgive them, try to understand them at least. With a sigh, Naruto got to his feet. Naruto stood up and nodded goodbye to the Hokage, saying, I have given up trying to change people's ways. When I become Hokage, they will acknowledge me, one way or another. As he watched the boy develop into a fine young man, Sarutobi smiled warmly and said, Be safe, Naruto. Before departing, Naruto gave the Hokage one final grin. After saying, I will, get some sleep, old man. Naruto disappeared out the window. 8 a.m. the following day at the bridge, the three of them, minus Naruto, were awaiting their sensei. Sakura looked better than she had the day before. She was pleased that she and her Sasuke-kun had passed the test. She gave Sasuke her most adorable puppy eyes and asked, Sasuke-kun, do you want to go out on a date with me after this? He gazed at her. No, how did he gain so much authority? I must have it. Sasuke was too preoccupied to consider Naruto's strength. Yo. Kakashi showed up next to the two. Sakura politely questioned her sensei, Kakashi. Sensei, Naruto isn't here yet. Are we going to leave him behind? Yes, we can get rid of that moron. Sasuke-kun and I might be the only ones here today. Sakura and Sasuke turned to see Naruto standing atop the pole, saying, Ma Naruto, you have to stop hiding, just come out and be with your teammates. Sakura raised her hands in the air and threatened to harm Naruto, saying, Pinky's hair color is an eyesore. All Kakashi could do was shake his head. Naruto groaned slightly as he said, This is going to be a long month. Your mission today is to weed Mrs. Daichi's garden. Kakashi grinned at his pupil's suffering. Now get to it. Team 7 only completed D-rank missions for the next month. Naruto was furious beyond belief. If they had one more D mission, he would kill his sensei. Sakura was close to her beloved Sasuke-kun, so she didn't mind the missions. Naruto and Sasuke shared the same thoughts. The more he performed these pointless tasks, the less he felt proud to be a Uchiha. After a few days, Raven in position. Target sighted, 10 meters ahead. Cherry Blossom approaching target, 6 meters and closing in. This is stupid. Target captured. Reporting back. Kakashi sat in a tree and read his green book. Naruto, try and work as a team, will you? He asked. Naruto went up to his sensei with the cat by its neck and said, Once it was okay. Twice it became annoying. 3 times and I refuse to do this ridiculous exercise again. He gave the cat a chilly glare. Naruto didn't bother to look back to see who was shouting at him. Sakura said, Naruto, you were supposed to work with us. From behind him. Sasuke was feeling gloomy as usual. A person could only take so much of her complaining. Naruto nearly made his point. He stared at the cat once more and said, Shut your wide mouth for once, Pinky. The cat trembled at Naruto's icy stare, saying, I can snap your neck right here, cat. Naruto, please stop bothering the cat, he said, turning to Sakura and grinning evilly. She moved away from Naruto, saying, Then you want me to do it to you? Sasuke approached Naruto. Sasuke gave the cat a menacing smile and said, Next time, I'll divert her attention so you can kill that cat. Naruto gave a little laugh. He approached Kakashi and said, "You're not bad, Uchiha. I want a better mission now." Without even looking up from his book, Kakashi said, "Mama Naruto, all genin are supposed to complete a certain amount of D missions." The cat froze up there as Naruto gave a small snarl of intent to kill, and Kakashi looked up. Naruto calmly stated, "I'm not asking for you to let us, I'm demanding it, one way or another." Kakashi let out a sigh. Team 7 delivered the cat to the daimyo's wife, who said, "All right, let's go see the Hokage." When she gave the cat a bone, crushing hug, Naruto and Sasuke were beaming broadly. As they watched the cat struggle and attempt to flee, both boys thought, "You stupid cat, you got it right." Naruto's gaze shifted to the Hokage tower. "You had better make my time here worthwhile, old man."
So that's it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe to the channel for more awesome stories like this. Thank you. See you all in my next video.